Chapter 202, The Elder Uncle is called Guan. Do you know him? The world is in distress. How can we cultivators sit idly by? This has nothing to do with cultivation level, it's about spirit. Liya said without turning his head, his tone resolute and powerful, causing Zhang Buku to feel somewhat ashamed. In terms of awareness, he was indeed not as good as Brother Li. Of course, if we get an opportunity, that's even better. Let's try it. The more people there are, the easier it is to blend in, at least we want the easy targets. Liya shifted his tone and continued. Zhang Buku twitched his mouth but did not refute. He twisted his arm and said, Brother Li, it seems my old injury is acting up. Hold it in. Is your injury more serious than mine? As men, even if we die, it's just a scar as big as a bowl. What are you afraid of? If you're scared, you'll lose for a lifetime. Liya snorted, his gaze penetrating the gaps in the leaves, looking at the rolling demonic clouds in the sky, his thoughts drifting. Zhang Buku pouted, secretly thinking that he was just good at talking big. Having been together for so long, it's true that he couldn't bear to abandon Liya. Forget it, this brother for a lifetime, he'll follow him through the mountains of swords and seas of flames. Zhang Buku consoled himself in his heart. He followed up and asked, Brother Li, where do you think the blood prison great saint we encountered before is now? He's an ascended being. Is he looking for a sect to establish himself? Liya casually answered, naturally, one person can't establish themselves in the immortal cultivation world. The Mahayana realm sounds strong, but it's not invincible. But with his ability, he is probably being revered by some sect now, living much better than the two of us brothers. Indeed. Zhang Buku clicked his tongue in amazement. Without a sect as a backing, he deeply understood how difficult it was for a person to wander the immortal cultivation world alone. The two chatted while advancing. The demonic clouds in the sky continued to spread, seemingly marching towards the entire mortal world like a calamity. Guan rode on the back of the blood prison great saint, heading towards the pavilion area. His divine sense already locked onto the depths of the demon land. Amid a desolate land, the ground cracked open, spreading like a spider web. Majestic demonic chi erupted from the earth's crevices, soaring to the sky, an awe-inspiring sight. It was as if a peerless evil demon was about to break out from the ground, creating a suffocating atmosphere between heaven and earth. Guan observed cultivators constructing a transmission array platform on a cliff about 50,000 miles from the place where the evil demon was breaking its seal. They probably belonged to the Seven Stars spirit realm, as Ji Xianling was among them. At this moment, Ji Xianling stood at the edge of the cliff, his brows furrowed. A woman in white walked up to him, smilingly asked, What's the matter? Are you afraid? Ji Xianling glanced at her indifferently. No matter how strong the evil demon is, can it be stronger than Sword Venerable Fudao? I've been to the Supreme Sect. It's different. These two haven't fought. Besides, you represented the Seven Stars spirit realm going to the Supreme Sect. Why would Sword Venerable Fudao attack you? The woman in white shook her head. Ji Xianling continued to look ahead, ignoring the woman in white. The woman in white added, Elder Lin is here too. He is a loose immortal. With his intervention, we should get through this tribulation. Elder Lin? Ji Zunling's brows furrowed again, his doubts growing stronger. The terrible conjecture seemed to be about to be confirmed. He always believed that the Seven Stars spirit realm was the true Holy Land and took pride in being born in the Seven Stars spirit realm. But recently, more and more things made him feel that the Seven Stars spirit realm harbored many unspeakable secrets, secrets that might shatter its holy name, driving him to the brink. What tortured him the most was that he guessed the truth but didn't dare to reveal it, and still had to follow orders. Rumble. The demonic clouds in the sky began to emit thunderous sounds, like ancient demon gods roaring, causing unrest among all beings. Guan watched for a long time. When the blood prison great saint returned to the pavilion, he dismounted. Although cultivators from all over the world were heading north, and even the demon clan was mobilizing troops towards the evil demon seal, he was not in a hurry. Better wait for the evil demon to revive before taking action. He suspected that the Seven Stars spirit realm wanted to eliminate the evil demon themselves to make a name for themselves, but he felt that the rising speed of the demonic chi might disrupt their plan. Unless the Seven Stars spirit realm dispatched a wandering immortal. Just right to use the evil demon to test the strength of the Seven Stars spirit realm on the continent. In the days following, news of the imminent revival of the evil demon spread wildly within the Supreme Sect, even reaching the disciples in Mystic Valley and the Third Medicine Valley. Guan could feel that the evil demon was about to break its seal ahead of time for some unknown reason. He didn't bother to speculate on the reason, as long as the evil demon didn't grow strong enough to exceed his control. Judging by the current pace of its chi rising, it would take another 100 years to pose a threat to Guan. The difference between heaven and earth flying immortal and wandering immortal was like the gap between mortals and immortals, not to mention that the evil demon had not yet reached the wandering immortal realm. The Seven Stars spirit realm side hadn't made a move yet, they were also waiting. Guan thought they would act only when the three Chao cultivators gathered, which would be their chance to make a name. In the blink of an eye. A month quickly passed, and a large number of three Chao cultivators had gathered where the Seven Stars spirit realm cultivators were stationed. The evil demon's chi had almost reached the wandering immortal realm, sending a chill down all cultivators' spines. Let alone scouting for information, they didn't even dare to send their divine senses into demon land. On the wasteland, the Supreme Sect cultivators gathered to build houses, with formations set up around the perimeter. LV Badian stood on a terrace, his gaze fixed on the distant cliff, where the Seven Stars spirit realm was stationed, isolated as a holy land, not mingling with the three Chao sections. All the sects gathered on the wasteland under the cliff, but the Seven Stars spirit realm remained aloof. Ji Hantian approached LV Badian, whispered, "There's still no sign of Xiantiani. Could he really have perished in demon land?" His brows furrowed. Xiantiani was a rare talent in the Supreme Sect in thousands of years and their strongest person on the surface. Losing Xiantiani would mean half of the Supreme Sect's foundation crumbling. Regardless, we must prepare for the possibility that he can't fight. LV Badian said solemnly. Ji Hantian looked at LV Badian, deep in thought. After a long while, he finally asked, "Sect leader, are you hiding something from me? If Xiantiani is really dead, how can you be so unperturbed? You are too calm." LV Badian shook his head and turned to go downstairs. In the distance, Leah led Zhang Buku into the Supreme Sect's encampment. Zhang Buku looked around, full of curiosity. "I heard the Supreme Sect started recruiting demon clan disciples. You should join later, I'll recommend you." Leah softly laughed. Zhang Buku asked, "Really?" He was visibly excited. Leah glanced at him, curiously asking, "Why so excited? When I introduced you to the cultivators of the Tsangtian sect, you weren't this thrilled." "Why?" Zhang Buku took a deep breath. "Truth be told, my father was an outer sect servant disciple of the Supreme Sect. Since childhood, I've heard tales of the Supreme Sect from him. Naturally, I yearn for it." Due to Zhang Buku's tragic background, Leah never asked much, afraid of saddening him. Today, hearing this, he couldn't help but ask, "What's your father's name? By the way, I also started as an outer sect servant disciple. Maybe I knew your father." Zhang Buku turned his head. "My father's name was Zhang Chuanxiu." "What?" Leah stopped in his tracks, staring at Zhang Buku in stunned surprise. Surprised, Zhang Buku asked, "Brother Li, you knew him?" First shocked, Leah then remembered that Zhang Buku's father had passed away. His mood dropped. "Was your father a servant disciple in Medicine Valley?" "When I joined the valley, he was my senior brother," Leah said with mixed emotions. Zhang Buku was excited again. "Really? I didn't expect we had such a connection." "Right, you mentioned a martial uncle earlier, what's his name?" "Why didn't your father mention me?" Leah asked. Just as he finished, his mind suddenly jolted. "Wait! Isn't this messing up the seniority?" Zhang Buku replied, "Martial uncle's name is Guan. Do you know him?" Junior brother Gu, Leah immediately realized. Indeed, Back in Medicine Valley, senior brother Zhang Chunki's favorite was junior brother Gu. Junior brother Gu was kind to everyone, universally liked. It's natural that senior brother Zhang Chuanxiu remembered him. Zhang Buku also realized, scratching his head, should I call you Martial Uncle Li? Forget it, brotherly flows better. Well, each stick to our own. Seeing his shameless expression, Leah felt somewhat vexed. They'd been calling each other brothers for years, it was hard to change now. After all, Zhang Buku only saw him, their previous relationship might as well not count. Zhang Buku nervously asked, brotherly, how's your relationship with Martial Uncle Gu? Hearing this, Leah suddenly wanted to alter the relationship. He looked up, proudly smiled, of course, we're the best of brothers. Really? Zhang Buku was overjoyed. Leah asked skeptically, why are you so curious about him? Have you seen him? Of course, when I was young and my father hadn't yet passed, Martial Uncle Gu came to my house. He even brought me a top-grade spirit elixir. He's my only elder in this world. Zhang Buku said seriously. Only elder. Li Ya's mouth twitched, in that case, you'd better call me Martial Uncle. No way, well, each stick to our own. If junior brother Gu hears this, it'll be a joke. What? Last year when the Demon King nearly tore you apart, I risked my life to save you. Didn't you say we're brothers for life? Now you're denying it? Zhang Buku glared. They had already sworn brotherhood, how could he recognize his brother as a martial uncle? Leah opened his mouth, feeling somewhat stifled. Zhang Buku looked around, muttering, I wonder if Martial Uncle Gu is here. Leah sneered, he's just a Foundation Establishment Realm cultivator, besides, he's timid. How could he be here? Foundation Establishment Realm? Zhang Buku was taken aback. He had seen Martial Uncle Gu slay demons. To be honest, he felt Martial Uncle Gu was stronger than Leah. But he had promised Martial Uncle Gu not to reveal his acts of heroism. So, he held back. Seeing Li Ya's expression, he clearly didn't know Martial Uncle Gu's true cultivation level. Such a proud person, if he knew the truth, had definitely hassled Martial Uncle Gu. Zhang Buku thought secretly, feeling rather delighted. Knowing Martial Uncle Gu's secret, did it mean Martial Uncle Gu saw him as closer? Chapter 203, The Evil Demon Breaks the Seal. It's him. Zhang Buku could not find Guan within the Supreme Sect's camp, as Guan was still busy planting seeds. He had come to the grotto heaven he had cultivated beforehand, scattering ordinary herb seeds to improve the soil. Once the matter with the evil demon was resolved, he planned to go overseas to buy a large number of high-rank medicinal herb seeds. Decades had passed, and Guan had accumulated a vast fortune, enough for him to spend lavishly. The demonic power from the north persisted, affecting all life. Wherever Guan went, he heard people worrying about it. Simultaneously, Guan overheard another discourse. Some were constantly advocating for the Holy Land, claiming that this calamity would not spread to the human realm with the Holy Land's intervention. Using his divine sense to cover the land of 3 dynasties, Guan saw many people specifically spreading this news. From the karma around them, he deduced they were entrusted by 7 stars spirit realm cultivators. Indeed, the Holy Land's means were far beyond the supreme sects. After witnessing how difficult it was to control the sword Venerable Fudao, the 7 stars spirit realm acted swiftly. Moreover, Guan noticed batches of cultivators landing from the sea, some among them even Nirvana realm great cultivators. They infiltrated the 3 dynasties to gather information. Some were investigating the sword Venerable Fudao, others the 7 stars spirit realm. Guan did not pay too much attention, as long as they didn't appear before him. Time continued to pass. About half a month later, as autumn drew to a close, Guan was riding the blood prison Great Saint, wandering around the 3rd Medicine Valley when his divine sense turned northward. The 7 stars spirit realm had begun to take action. Guan saw among them appearing a loose immortal, whose aura was no weaker than startling immortal Lin's, even without releasing his pressure. In the depths of the demon land, at the edge of the demon land. All disciples, prepare for battle. A bold voice resounded throughout the Supreme Sect's encampment, prompting all disciples to begin mobilizing. Not only the Supreme Sect but other sects were the same. The Seven Stars Spirit Realm dispatched disciples to various sects, instructing on battle tactics. Even powerful sects like the Tsungtian sect did not dare refuse, only complying, as the Seven Stars Spirit Realm had great cultivators at the Realm of Immortal Path. When the Seven Stars Spirit Realm's cultivators flew toward the depths of the demon land like arrow showers, dozens of sects spread out, ready to encircle the demon land from different directions. And Hao, Liya, and Zhang Buku were among them. The Supreme Sect's mystic heart realm had only one representative, Ancestor Xian Quan. Other sects were the same, with even the strongest Tsungtian sect only sending a Taoist lord, not even bringing any mystic heart realm great cultivators. They all knew the battle's key lay with the Holy Land. And Hao gazed at the backs of the Seven Stars Spirit Realm cultivators, frowning deeply in thought. Over 10,000 Supreme Sect cultivators followed LV Badian in flight, everyone tense. Even with the Holy Land at the forefront, they still felt anxious, as the Holy Land had stated that the evil demon could not be completely eradicated by them. In the Seven Stars Spirit Realm faction, Ji Zunling's eyes held complex emotions as he looked at the elder at the very front. That elder was the Lin family's loose immortal, named Ancestor Lin Lu, holding a high position within the Six Stars Cave. Not only was his cultivation profound, but he himself had lived for nearly 10,000 years. Ancestor Lin Lu wore a large purple robe, his white hair bound beneath a coronet, and his weathered face exuded vitality with bright eyes, making him appear imposing. Suddenly, his eyes squinted, and in the direction he gazed upon, the barren earth ahead was riddled with fissures, black demonic chi seeping out, as if something extremely evil was breeding. Thunderclouds churned above, lightning flashing, casting a heavy atmosphere over everything. Ancestor Lin Lu raised his right hand, a golden umbrella appearing in his palm. He lifted it, and the golden umbrella flew over his head, swiftly shooting forward. In the blink of an eye, the golden umbrella flew to the most densely concentrated area of demonic chi, hovering 10,000 feet above the ground, near the thunderclouds. Boom! The golden umbrella suddenly opened, spreading golden rays of light, as if an immense power from another dimension shook the very sea of time, dispersing clouds and lightning, transforming the gloomy sky into something majestic and ethereal. Golden light poured down from the umbrella like a torrential rain, landing on the cracked ground, forming inscriptions that expanded rapidly, covering a 1,000-mile radius within 2 breaths and continuing to spread. The golden inscriptions suppressed the demonic chi emerging from the ground fissures. When the inscriptions stopped extending, their edges emitted golden light, shooting into the clouds and forming golden pillars, isolating 10,000 miles around, with the 3 dynasties sects positioned outside the golden barrier. What kind of magic artifact is that? It can form a formation by itself? Indeed powerful, this formation feels stronger than our sect-protecting array. No wonder it's the Holy Land, truly formidable. It seems the Holy Land plans to handle the evil demon alone. We just need to assist. That's good. Who wants to die? Discussions buzzed among the sect disciples, their reverence for the Holy Land rising rapidly. Ji Xianling looked up at the golden umbrella in the sky, uttering 4 words, loose immortal Dharma treasure. Ancestor Lin Lu accelerated alone, quickly arriving above a massive black hole. Looking down, he saw it was bottomless, with all the ground fissures extending from this pit. The demonic chi inside pushed against the golden mana, threatening to break through at any moment. 7 Stars Spirit Realm, heh. A chilling voice echoed through the world, heard clearly by all cultivators outside the formation. On the Supreme Sect's side, numerous great cultivators' faces changed dramatically, including LV Badian, Ji Hantian, and Ancestor Xian Quan. And Hao's eyes widened, his expression incredulous. Senior Xian. Impossible, the voice was precisely that of Xian Tianyi. And Hao subconsciously looked toward LV Badian. Ever since LV Badian discovered the restriction on his back, he had strictly forbidden him from revealing it. LV Badian had also promised to handle the matter and never wrong Xian Tianyi. At this moment, LV Badian's face was dark. Ignoring Enhao's gaze, he stared intently at the depths of the demon land. Evil demon, after 10,000 years, you still haven't repented? Ancestor Lin Lu's voice rang out, calm yet pressing. Evil demon. All cultivators tensed, with those from various sects who had met Xiantiani furrowing their brows, frequently looking toward the supreme sect. Just then, the earth trembled violently. Ancestor Lin Lu remained unfazed. He raised his right hand, strengthening the formation. The demonic qi in the ground fissures grew more potent and frenzied, trying to shatter the golden inscriptions on the surface, as if countless vengeful demons were about to burst from the abyss. Mournful wails echoed throughout the world, sounding like both dragon and phoenix songs, and evil ghosts' howls, making everyone's hair stand on end. Boom! A terrifying force suddenly broke through the surface, shattering the golden inscriptions. Rolling demonic qi surged to the sky, merging with the thunderclouds and sending the golden umbrella flying. Ancestor Lin Lu was caught off guard, forced back by the overwhelming pressure. Stabilizing himself, he frowned, raised his hand, and cast a spell to steady the golden umbrella in the sky, then pulled out a long redwood sword. Hundreds of seven-star spirit realm cultivators spread out, surrounding the terrifying pillar of demonic qi, each taking out their magic artifacts. Ji Xianling wielded a large fan, with golden flames leaping from its 7 apertures. His gaze noticed a figure rising within the demonic qi pillar, causing his pupils to dilate suddenly. It's him. So it's all true. In the third medicine valley, Guan dismounted from the blood prison great saint's back. Instead of returning to his quarters, he turned and looked north. His brows furrowed, his eyes filled with coldness. His expression quickly changed. He retracted his gaze and prepared to go upstairs. At that moment, a figure flew in from afar. He stopped, turned, and saw Ji Xiaoyu swiftly approaching like a fairy descending from the sky before him. Guan saluted her, smilingly asking, "Third miss, what brings you here?" Ji Xiaoyu raised her hand, revealing a jade pendant. "Leave this with you. Don't mention it to anyone. I will come back for it later." She tossed it to Guan and then turned to leave, as quickly as she came. Guan's divine sense scanned it as he nonchalantly put the jade pendant into his storage bag before turning to go upstairs. The jade pendant contained intelligence about the 7-star spirit realm. Why did Ji Xiaoyu give it to him? Could she have guessed something? Meanwhile, in the demon land, a figure stepped out from the roiling demonic qi. His appearance made Ji Zunling's face turn extremely grim, causing a stir among the supreme sect and disbelief in other sections. The figure emerging from the demonic qi was none other than Xiantiani. Xiantiani wore a black robe, his white hair fluttering wildly. His handsome face was pale, with deep red eye sockets, and his pupils seemed to swirl with demonic qi, appearing particularly sinister. He twisted his neck, raised his arms, and stretched his body. "Senior Xian." And Hao's voice echoed from afar as he tried to rush into the formation but was stopped. On the Zhangtian sect side, Daoist Lord frowned, calculating with his fingers. Sect Master Liang Zhanghai also frowned deeply, filled with confusion. How could this be? The Taoist of immortality from Three Pure Ones Mountain couldn't help but look at Ancestor Lin Lu, his eyes full of meaning. Discussions buzzed among the sects, and soon, Xiantiani's identity spread. A supreme sect Mahayana realm cultivator had turned into an evil demon? This revelation shocked everyone. Once, during the demonic invasion, Xiantiani had achieved great feats, earning the respect of cultivators worldwide. Ancestor Lin Lu stared at the evil demon, speaking coldly, "Evil demon, you dare possess a human Mahayana realm cultivator? You seek death." His voice rumbled like thunder, echoing through the heavens, heard by all. Xiantiani turned to him, eyes icy, and sneered, "Noisy." As soon as he finished speaking, he waved his sleeve at Ancestor Lin Lu, releasing the terrifying power of a 9th-layer loose immortal, obliterating the golden inscriptions on the ground. Ancestor Lin Lu's spellcasting tried to block it, but he was still forced back. Thousands of miles away, the golden light from the formation was shattered, sending tens of thousands of sect disciples flying, with countless casualties. You, Ancestor Lin Lu glared at Xiantiani, his tone filled with shock and anger. What was happening? Their cultivation? Before he could think further, Xiantiani raised his hand, palm facing the sky, with a wild smile on his face. He grabbed with his right hand and yanked downward. The thunderclouds in the sky collapsed instantly, the terrifying pressure causing all cultivators outside the formation to plummet to the ground, and the earth trembled. Chapter 204 Above Loose Immortal. Xiantiani merely grabbed out with his hand, but it gave all the cultivators a sense of the sky falling, with the heavens shaking and the earth roaring, reverberating in everyone's ears. The cultivators of the seven-star spirit realm also fought desperately to resist. Although their cultivation was high, it was only impressive compared to the cultivators outside the formation. Before Xiantiani, they were insignificant. Rumble, the earth continuously shattered, overwhelming demonic energy surged forth like a volcanic eruption, and countless lightning bolts intertwined like dragons and snakes, converging in the palm of Xiantiani's right hand. At this moment, Xiantiani's momentum reached its peak, white hair wildly fluttered, a madman expression, as if a demonic god had descended upon the world. Ancestor Lin Lu steadied himself and quickly cast spells with both hands, pushing forward with a palm strike, the mana like a dragon emerging from the abyss, carrying the spiritual energy of the heavens and earth, fire and wind intertwined, sweeping across the shattered earth, heading straight for Xiantiani. In the face of this mana, everything in the world seemed insignificant. Xiantiani raised his hand. Facing the vast tide of wind and fire, he blocked it with one palm, causing the raging wind and fire to split apart, forming countless fire dragons scattering in all directions. Form the array, exterminate the demon. Ancestor Lin Lu roared angrily, and the other seven-star spirit realm cultivators leaped away, distancing themselves from Xiantiani. Suddenly, the rolling dust behind Ancestor Lin Lu was scattered, and Xiantiani stepped behind him, standing sideways. Xiantiani's eyes were filled with killing intent. With one palm strike, his hand ignited with demonic flames, penetrating Ancestor Lin Lu's chest, splattering blood. Ancestor Lin Lu's eyes widened with a look of shock and anger. Xiantiani lifted his arm, following up with a dive, slamming Ancestor Lin Lu, who was impaled on his arm, into the shattered ground. He then began to wildly swing him around, causing the seven-star spirit realm cultivators to panic, and the great cultivators from distant sects were horrified. The evil demon, though not as exaggerated in size as the demon ancestors or great demon kings, exuded an even more intimidating presence. Ancestor Lin Lu transformed into a blood mist. In an instant, his body reappeared dozens of miles away, covered in blood, with his robe tattered, no longer composed as before. Xiantiani stepped out from the blood mist. As he looked up, countless sword shadows emitting silver light descended from the sky, engulfing him in an instant, causing dust to rise like a dragon swallowing the sky. Boom! 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 Countless sword shadows bombarded the ground, causing the entire earth to tremble violently. The ones casting the spells were dozens of seven-star spirit realm sword cultivators. They floated high in the sky, each with their treasure sword inverted in front of them, the blades vibrating with a clear and piercing sound. Watching the formidable sword array of the seven-star spirit realm, the cultivators of various sects were elated. They retreated one after another, distancing themselves from the battlefield. The difference in cultivation levels was too great. Even flying was difficult, so they had to expand the encirclement. LV Badian grabbed and Howen quickly retreated. Master, is there no hope? And Hao looked at LV Badian, gritting his teeth. Hearing that Xiantiani had been possessed, his heart ached terribly. LV Badian gazed at the chaotic and terrifying battlefield in the distance, speaking in a solemn tone, the urgent task now is to eliminate the demon. Liya and Zhang Buku were also retreating. Their cultivation level was too low. Facing Xiantiani's demonic power, they felt suffocated. Brotherly, there's no way to take advantage of this situation. Zhang Buku whispered urgently. He felt that the Holy Land was not containing the evil demon. Liya didn't speak. he was equally nervous. In his eyes, the Holy Land was the most powerful force in the world. With the Holy Land leading the way, their pressure should be less. But once the evil demon appeared, the situation was completely reversed, and even the mighty Holy Land was being suppressed. On the other side, Ancestor Lin Lu flew high into the sky, taking out various magic artifacts. While forming an array, he cast spells to attack Xiantiani. What's going on? He shouldn't be this strong, Ancestor Lin Lu thought fearfully. He could feel that Xiantiani was still growing stronger, even challenging a higher realm. The realm above Lu's immortal. In the Six Stars Cave, there was only one person in that realm, and that person was not on the continent. After reaching the realm of Immortal Path, most cultivators would not stay on the continent. He usually roamed the oceans and would not have returned if not for the family incident. Before he could think further, a surge of demonic energy burst from beneath the sword array, scattering it. Dozens of seven-star spirit realm sword cultivators spat blood and were sent flying. This demonic energy, like a blade, pierced through the sky, aimed at Ancestor Lin Lu. Too fast. It was so fast that Ancestor Lin Lu couldn't dodge and could only instinctively use mana to defend. Boom! His figure was engulfed by demonic energy, and the clouds in the sky were also pierced. As the demonic energy dissipated, sunlight shone through the gap in the clouds. All of the magic artifacts in front of Ancestor Lin Lu shattered, and though he barely managed to block it, he was covered in blood, looking miserable. He was also at the Lu's immortal realm, and at the 8th floor of cultivation, but before Xiantiani, he was defenseless. Damn it, Ancestor Lin Lu roared, his mana bursting from within, further shattering the ground below. Earth spirit energy surged up like a celestial screen, covering hundreds of miles, grand and majestic, engulfing his figure. Xiantiani suddenly appeared behind one of the 7-star spirit realm cultivators, grabbing his head. The cultivator's face showed terror. Before he could resist, Xiantiani directly extracted his soul, opening his mouth to forcibly devour it. He then released his right hand, and the soulless cultivator collapsed to the ground. This scene terrified the other 7-star spirit realm cultivators, who fled in panic. Xiantiani immediately disappeared and reappeared behind a female cultivator, grabbing her head and devouring her soul. These Mahayana cultivators had no chance to resist in his presence. Boom! A gust of wind came, and Xiantiani instinctively turned his head. He saw beam after beam of green light phantoms rushing out of the spiritual energy curtain covering half the sky. Each held different forms of magic artifacts, stood 100 feet tall, and looked like celestial soldiers from another world, unstoppable. The Third Medicine Valley. Guan sat at his desk, practicing calligraphy while watching the battle. Possessed by the evil demon, Xiantiani suppressed the 7-star spirit realm alone. That Lu's immortal constantly displayed divine skills, shaking the heavens and earth, but was unable to harm Xiantiani. Instead, he watched as Xiantiani continuously devoured souls. Guan sensed that 10 Lu's immortals were heading to the battlefield, flying in from the northern coast of the continent with great speed. They should be reinforcements for the 7-star spirit realm. Strange, there is still Xiantiani's soul aura within him. It doesn't seem like possession, but the two are so perfectly integrated, it's as if they were originally one, Guan wondered. He initially planned to act once the evil demon broke free, but he had to wait because of Xiantiani. The 7-star spirit realm intended to use the evil demon to bolster their Holy Land's prestige while luring Xiantiani into a trap, weakening the Supreme Sect's explicit power and reputation. It was truly sinister. But the evil demon was on the verge of breaking through to Wandering Immortal, which shouldn't have been part of the 7-star spirit realm's plan. Otherwise, Ancestor Lin Lu wouldn't have acted early, forcing the evil demon to break free prematurely. The variable was Xiantiani. Xiantiani seemed to have additional secrets unknown to others. Thinking carefully, Xiantiani's talent didn't seem trainable by the Supreme Sect, and his growth didn't involve training in the 7-star spirit realm but rather heading south instead. In any case, Guan was determined to rescue Xiantiani. Now the 7-star spirit realm found itself in a difficult situation, and it was perfect to use the evil demon to weaken the realm's power and prestige. At the very least, let the other sects know that the 7-star spirit realm was not invincible. Gu An's eyes turned subtle when he saw Xian Tianyi spared Ji Xianling. Besides Ancestor Lin Lu and Ji Xianling, all the other 7-star spirit realm cultivators had their souls devoured, leaving only their shells. Without anyone to restrain him, Ancestor Lin Lu was no match for Xian Tianyi either. Being in the same realm, it would be difficult for Xian Tianyi to completely kill Ancestor Lin Lu in a short time. Suddenly, Xian Tianyi drilled deep into the ground. As soon as he disappeared, the 10 loose immortals arrived. In the battlefield of the demon land, the world turned dark, and the land was buried in overwhelming dust, resembling the early chaos of creation. Ancestor Lin Lu looked around at his fellow disciples and said solemnly, "He's about to break through to Wandering Immortal." Upon hearing these words, the 10 loose immortals' faces changed dramatically. Without needing further orders, they all plunged into the ground fissures, chasing after Xian Tianyi. Ancestor Lin Lu took out an elixir and swallowed it, then began cultivating energy mid-air to heal. His face was grim, filled with fear. The Lin family had already lost startling immortal Lin, the most talented family member in history, and their plans involving the 7-star spirit realm were nearly exposed. He came this time to redeem himself, but hadn't expected the evil demon to be so powerful. 10,000 years ago, the evil demon had just reached the loose immortal realm. How was he so strong now? Was there another's influence behind the evil demon? His first thought was Sword Venerable Fudao. Sword Venerable Fudao could easily kill a loose immortal and was likely a wandering immortal. The 6 Stars Cave had only one wandering immortal, and without knowing Sword Venerable Fudao's true identity, they did not dare act rashly. Could Sword Venerable Fudao be someone from a great sect at sea, specifically targeting the 7-star spirit realm? 300 years ago, we shouldn't have let the ephemera sect in. Ancestor Lin Lu hated bitterly. The 6 Stars Cave had numerous factions and his family couldn't dominate. But now, the main loss fell on the Lin family. The disciples just devoured, most came from the Lin family, how could he not hate? At the same time, the Supreme Sect and other sects had retreated 10,000 miles away, sensing only 2 auras of 7-star spirit realm cultivators, making them even more afraid. Even the Holy Land can't suppress the evil demon? Without the Holy Land, we would have been dead already. The Holy Land does live up to its name, but its foundation is, could we ultimately rely on Sword Venerable Fudao? I suspect he'll only act when the evil demon reaches the 3 dynasties border. We're truly useless, always troubling him, the cultivators discussed, while the Supreme Sect remained somber. Xian Tianyi being possessed by the evil demon was a huge blow to their morale. LV Badian looked into the distance, his face dark and eyes flashing. And Hao had calmed down, waiting for the outcome. He hadn't yet connected Xian Tianyi's plight to the Holy Land, only cared for Xian Tianyi's safety. However, it didn't take long before an even more terrifying demonic energy erupted from the ground, startling everyone. Chapter 205, Majestic Divine Might, Wandering Immortal arrives rumble. The sky above the Supreme Sect was covered by rolling thunderclouds, as if a storm was about to break. The sky changed so quickly that the disciples who were still busy in the 3rd Medicine Valley hurried their tasks. Guan descended from the pavilion, feeling that Xian Tianyi had already half-stepped into the wandering immortal realm, which made him very interested in the sealing ground of the evil demon. What exactly was hidden below? It could actually allow the evil demon to break through in one fell swoop. There must be a secret down below. Could it be that the evil demon also had the ability to evolve lifespan cultivation? Gu An's mind wandered, and he was already prepared to take action. Once Xian Tianyi dealt with the 11 loose immortals of the 7 stars spirit realm, he would make his move. He could feel the heavenly might condensing in the sky above the battlefield, signifying that Xian Tianyi was about to face the tribulation. TSK, is the tribulation range of a loose immortal this large? Guan looked at the thunderclouds in the sky and thought silently. This gave him a clearer concept of the celestial tribulation of the immortal path. The tribulation of the evil demon had covered the entire continent, showing just how exaggerated the power of the tribulation was. If the tribulation from loose immortal to wandering immortal was already like this, then what kind of power would the tribulation from wandering immortal to heaven and earth flying immortal be? The aura of a distant loose immortal suddenly disappeared. It seemed he had died at Xiantiany's hands. With the first, there would be a second. The successive deaths of two loose immortals made ancestor Lin Lu, who was healing, unable to remain calm. He immediately rushed into the underground to support. Guan observed the tribulation. He could feel the spiritual power of the five elements in the heaven and earth gathering toward the thunderclouds above, rushing toward the crossing site at an extremely fast speed after entering the clouds. The spiritual power of the five elements in heaven and earth thus gathered together to accumulate heavenly might. The third loose immortal fell. After devouring the souls of the loose immortals, Xiantiany's momentum soared. Vaguely, Guan felt two strands of demonic qi surging within one body. Could it be that Xiantiany and the evil demon were vying for control of the body? Guan silently thought, keeping a cautious attitude. If Xiantiany's soul was about to collapse, he would immediately take action. For mortals, the distance from the supreme sect to the demon land was a lifelong journey that could never be covered, but for Guan, it only took one step. The disciples in the valley began to gather, discussing what the thunderclouds in the sky portended. Lu Lingjun still stayed within the pavilion, cultivating, seemingly unconcerned about the calamity outside. Since returning, she had been in closed cultivation and had not left the room. Rumble, watching the lightning and thunder in the sky, the cultivators of the supreme sect were extremely tense because they felt they were also within the scope of the celestial tribulation and might be affected. Liang Canghai was decisive and immediately ordered the disciples to retreat. After all, they couldn't help the seven stars spirit realm, it was better to preserve themselves. Their presence here was at the call of the seven stars spirit realm. Otherwise, the safest option would be to guard the borders of the three dynasties, where they could gather more strength. LV Badian also led the disciples in retreat, and at that moment, Ji Hantian approached him. I suddenly remembered that Xiantiany had gone demonic in his youth, Ji Hantian whispered. LV Badian glanced at him, his gaze cold, scaring him into immediate silence. Ji Hantian spoke with some grievance. I thought you two were at odds. So all these years had been an act for me? LV Badian was the sect leader, and he was the vice sect leader. He also had the ambition to be sect leader, but above them was Xiantiany, who many elders supported for the position of sect leader. As such, he naturally harbored no good feelings towards Xiantiany. It so happened that LV Badian once found him, complaining about Xiantiany, which quickly won his favor. Because of Xiantiany, the two formed a better bond. Whenever LV Badian shirked his duties, he would work hard because LV Badian promised that if he stepped down, he would choose him. Of course, all this was about vying for power. On a day-to-day basis, the three of them, as fellow disciples, greeted each other amicably. Talking nonsense, is now the time to discuss this? LV Badian said in a deep voice, cutting off Ji Hantian. Boom, a deafening sound came from behind, startling the two into turning their heads. The distance was too far for them to see what had happened, but the horrifying demonic might of the evil demon made them tremble in fear. At that moment, a disciple cried out, "Look at the sky." Everyone looked up, astonished to find that the thunderclouds in the sky had reflected a scene of the demon land. Figures moved as swiftly as lightning, dazzling everyone. Those exaggerated spells and divine skills were even more shocking to every cultivator's eyes. Various factions began to slow down, retreating while watching the battle unfold. And Hao, Leah, and Zhang Buku did the same. Zhang Buku's eyes were full of longing. Could he reach such a realm in his lifetime? And Hao's eyes were full of concern and worry. He always believed that there was still hope for Xiantiany to break free from the evil demon. Under the watchful eyes of all the cultivators, whenever Xiantiany stopped to devour a soul, the scene in the sky would focus on him, zooming in, showing everyone the chilling process of him consuming the souls of the loose immortals. Xiantiany's face displayed two different expressions, arrogance and cruelty on the left, frowning and pain on the right. This made him look even more bizarre. Time continued to pass. In the end, only ancestor Lin Lu remained alive. Seeing the last loose immortal companion's soul drawn out, he completely gave up on resisting. He tried to escape, but Xian Tianyi caught him, and this time, he could not escape Xian Tianyi's grasp. "You can't," ancestor Lin Lu trembled, his primordial spirit unable to leave his body, his physical form unable to use divine skills, and his qi unable to break free from the hand above his head. Sadly, before he could finish his words, he collapsed to the ground. Xian Tianyi swallowed his soul, soared into the sky, sat cross-legged in mid-air, constantly rising. When he stopped, beneath him was a vast wave of dust like a dragon, seemingly engulfing the entire world. The illusions in the sky continued to expand, eventually covering the entire continent. Wherever there were people or demons, they were frightened, discussing who the figure in the sky was. Transformed into the evil demon, Xian Tianyi deeply imprinted himself in the hearts of all beings. The disciples of the Third Medicine Valley discussed in astonishment. Some remembered Xian Tianyi, finding it hard to believe. Guan turned and walked toward the transmission array platform. The blood prison great saint lay on the ground, watching the spectacle. As expected of the great heavenly spirit land. This tribulation is too exaggerated, and this evil demon looks so powerful, the blood prison great saint thought to himself. He was not at all flustered, after all, he was a prisoner. His gaze unconsciously followed Guan, seeing him teleport away. He didn't mind, thinking Guan was going to take care of the Mystic Valley. After arriving at the Mystic Valley, Guan simply inspected it briefly before leaving. As the great battle ended, the only sound left in heaven and earth was thunder. The cultivators of the three dynasties' factions all paused. The leaders from each faction gathered to discuss their next move. They could all see that the evil demon was undergoing a tribulation. If the evil demon succeeded in the tribulation, the situation would become even worse. But with the complete annihilation of the Seven Stars Spirit Realm, what could they do? Someone complained, "There are so many cultivators in the Holy Land, yet they sent only so few of us here. Isn't this courting death?" Every 100 years, geniuses from various factions would go to the Seven Stars Spirit Realm for cultivation. They knew that the Seven Stars Spirit Realm far exceeded this number of people. Not only was the Seven Stars Spirit Realm sparsely populated, but they even called them to die here. It wasn't just one person, others also resented the Seven Stars Spirit Realm. No matter how nicely the Seven Stars Spirit Realm spoke, these were old monsters who lived for hundreds, even thousands of years, not easily swayed by sweet talk. They judged the Seven Stars Spirit Realm by its actions. Liang Canghai took a deep breath and said, "All right, now the urgent task is how we might stop the evil demon's tribulation." Everyone fell into silence. The gap in realms was too vast, they had no chance of winning. Daoist Lord suddenly said, "I foresee that the fate of the three dynasties has not yet run out. Perhaps there will be a turn of events. The Seven Stars Spirit Realm, after all, is an ancient holy land. Having lost so many people, they will not let it go easily." As soon as he spoke, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. They trusted the Daoist Lord greatly. LV Badian said nothing, his gaze fixed on the illusions in the sky. Time flew by, and those who came to fight felt agony. The people of the three dynasties were even more tense, watching the demon go through the tribulation, guessing what might happen next. Some even prayed for Xian Tianyi to fail the tribulation. And Hao sat cross-legged on the ground, both restoring his spiritual energy and keeping a close watch on the sky. Zhang Buku and Li Ye did the same, though they were more curious about Xian Tianyi's actual realm, finding the tribulation's momentum excessively exaggerated. On the other side, suspended high in the sky, Xian Tianyi was surrounded by demonic qi. The demonic qi from the underground pierced through the dust of heaven and earth, entering his body, continuously boosting his momentum. "Xian Tianyi, have you forgotten you consider yourself a hero of the righteous path?" A voice rang out in fury and alarm. From the dust wave emerged the disheveled Ji Xianling, shouting angrily at Xian Tianyi. Xiantiany's right eye opened, his brow furrowed, half his face showing a struggling expression. At that moment, his other eye opened, glancing at Ji Xianling with a gaze full of soul-chilling murderous intent, making Ji Zunling's heart quake. Xiantiany's lips quivered slightly, laboriously uttering 2 words, "Run, away." As soon as he finished speaking, his right eye closed, and his entire face's expression returned to a unified look of cruelty and malevolence. He raised his right hand, aiming at Ji Xianling. Innate 5 elements divine thunder tribulation. To think you, fiend, can undergo one of the top 10 tribulations of all time. A voice, like that of a heavenly god, resounded throughout the continent, shaking all beings to their core. Anyone who heard this voice was instinctively filled with awe. Ji Xianling instinctively turned his head, seeing a massive hole suddenly form in the thunderclouds above. A figure shining brightly descended from the sky, pressing the 2 of them down, scattering the boundless dust waves on the ground. Boom! Xiantiany sat on the ground, the ruins within a 100-mile radius collapsing, forming a massive circular pit. A figure descended in front of Xiantiany, causing him to look up in fear. For the first time, he showed such an expression. Chapter 206, Domineering. Sword Venerable Fudao. Ji Xianling also fell to the ground, but unlike Xiantiany, he did not bear the overwhelming pressure that surpassed a loose immortal. After landing, he only staggered a few steps. He quickly raised his eyes to look, his gaze locked on the mysterious figure in front of Xiantiany. It was a figure shining with a strong light, and he recognized the identity of the other person at a glance. Cave Master. Ji Xianling exclaimed in surprise. The Cave Master of 6 Stars Cave, Divine Soul True Lord. The Divine Soul True Lord stood tall, draped in a wide, black robe, with white clothes cinched with gold thread underneath, and a jade-adorned green silk belt. His black hair was coiled with 3 small swords. His expression was cold, and he looked down at the seated Xiantiany with eyes so frigid they seemed to freeze time. The illusion in the sky mirrored Xiantiany's figure while also reflecting the image of the Divine Soul True Lord, allowing everyone in the world to see his true appearance. Even the most esteemed great cultivators instinctively revered the Divine Soul True Lord at first sight. Just by standing there, the Divine Soul True Lord exuded an invincible aura. The people of the world were even more encouraged. The invincible evil demon cowered before the Divine Soul True Lord, all his previously established terrifying aura completely gone, now appearing so weak. Xiantiany did not want to stand up, but he simply could not. The gap between a loose immortal and a wandering immortal was as vast as the difference between clouds and mud. Xiantiany looked at the Divine Soul True Lord in terror, a look of pleading in his eyes. Thousands of miles away. And Hao looked at the illusion in the sky showing the Divine Soul True Lord and panicked immediately. Under his watchful gaze, the Divine Soul True Lord raised his right hand, and his imposing voice echoed across the entire continent. Today, I, the True Lord, will execute the demon for the sake of all living beings. His voice, akin to a god's, reverberated with rolling thunder. No, and Hao shouted with all his might, immediately wanting to leap up to intervene. Almost instantly, he felt a tap on his shoulder, causing all his spiritual power to dissipate, rendering him unable to fly up. Zhang Buku, Liya, and many disciples of the Supreme Sect glimpsed a shadow so fast they thought it was a hallucination. After speaking, the Divine Soul True Lord prepared to finish Xiantiany with a single palm strike. Ji Zunling's face changed drastically as he opened his mouth to plead. Smack! Suddenly, a hand pressed down on the Divine Soul True Lord's shoulder, dispersing the bright light on him, altering his expression and halting his right palm. Xiantiany also saw someone suddenly appear behind the Divine Soul True Lord, his expression changing dramatically as he struggled visibly. Ji Xianling gaped in shock, staring at the person behind the Divine Soul True Lord. At this moment, all living beings saw the person behind the Divine Soul True Lord in the sky. In the Third Medicine Valley. Lu Lingjun pushed open the door, just in time to see the illusion in the sky, her expression changing accordingly. Outer Gate City, heavenly repair platform. Standing beside the heaven-cutting axe, Zui Yijian looked up at the sky and murmured, "Sword Venerable Fudao." In the distance, Di Xia also recognized the mysterious figure, growing nervous immediately. Sword Venerable Fudao was going to confront the seven-star spirit realm's expert? And how, upon seeing Sword Venerable Fudao's figure, became excited, clenching his fists tightly. He thought it was his master who finally came to help him out of reluctance. Leah also became excited, the patriarch had actually come. Zhang Buku was simply curious about who had suddenly arrived. LV Badian, looking at the sky, visibly sighed in relief. The leaders of other sects were stunned, not understanding why Sword Venerable Fudao had intervened. In the illusion in the sky, the Divine Soul True Lord slowly lowered his right hand, glancing back and asking, "Could it be that you are the Sword Venerable Fudao who recently made a name for himself throughout the land?" Behind him stood a demonic shadow, shrouded in dark purple demonic chi, mysterious and ominous. Guan suddenly pulled him behind and then stepped forward. The Divine Soul True Lord's expression changed dramatically, and his body involuntarily recoiled. Guan stepped forward to stand before Xiantiani, extending his right hand, pointing two fingers at Xiantiani's forehead. The magic of heaven and earth flying immortal erupted, forcibly expelling the demon's soul from Xiantiani's body, dispersing the demonic chi, making Xiantiani grimace in pain. This scene shocked everyone in the world. This wasn't the evil demon? Everyone saw a demonic shadow emerge from Xiantiani, identical to his form. Before the evil demon could resist, Gu An's right hand opened, swiftly grabbing it and capturing it in his palm. The demonic pressure that shrouded the continent disappeared instantly, leaving everyone feeling inexplicably relieved, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from their hearts. You, the Divine Soul True Lord, was enraged. As the cave master of 6 Stars Cave, he naturally knew the evil demon's true origin. Though not personally leading it, he had allowed it. Sword Venerable Fudao was slapping him in the face. Guan turned and stood side-on to the Divine Soul True Lord. Xiantiani spat out blood, collapsing forward, his forehead landing on Gu An's thigh. Before closing his eyes, he weakly uttered, "Fudao." He collapsed by Gu An's leg, his consciousness plunging into darkness. Sword Venerable Fudao made no sound, allowing him to lie there, calmly staring at the Divine Soul True Lord. The people of the world held their breaths. Everyone could feel the standoff between the Divine Soul True Lord and Sword Venerable Fudao, recognizing that Sword Venerable Fudao had come to save the one possessed by the evil demon. No. More accurately, to save the one possessed by the evil demon. The world fell silent. Even the great cultivators near Demon Land were incredibly tense, not daring to breathe loudly. Blood Prison Great Saint, lying on the ground, looked at Gu An's figure, eyes full of admiration. Such domination. Without saying a word, everyone could feel his strong intent. Blood Prison Great Saint suddenly felt his past self was incredibly weak. Always boasting, but compared to the great cultivator of the upper realm, his spirit fell short by miles. Not just him, everyone else felt the Divine Soul True Lord had fallen to a lower position. This mysterious figure effortlessly pulled the Divine Soul True Lord away and scared him into inaction. Their abilities were clearly unmatched. Ji Xianling, closest to them, was utterly shocked. He knew better than anyone the power of the Divine Soul True Lord. In the 7 Stars Spirit Realm, centered around 6 Stars Cave, the Divine Soul True Lord was as divine as an immortal to them, representing the continent's strongest being. Such an existence was easily pulled away by Sword Venerable Fudao. Ji Xianling finally understood why the 7 Stars Spirit Realm had suddenly changed their mind and decided to come forth to save the people. They feared Sword Venerable Fudao and wanted to restore their image. The Divine Soul True Lord's face was extremely grim, caught in an inner struggle between choices. He had intended to use the anomaly of this innate 5 elements divine thunder tribulation to showcase his grand and heroic image of saving all living beings. But now, he found himself in a difficult position. If he acted, he couldn't be sure of winning, plus what would the world think of him? If he didn't act, how would the world view the 7 Stars Spirit Realm? Who exactly are you? Do not say you're from the Supreme Sect. This land could not possibly spawn someone as powerful as you. The Divine Soul True Lord asked solemnly, this time, not letting his voice echo across the continent, only audible to himself, Guan and Ji Xianling. Guan did not answer him but raised his right hand and pointed his index finger at his face. Somehow, facing Gu An's fingertip, the Divine Soul True Lord felt fear. Too overbearing. The other party didn't want to converse, only conveying one message, for him to back off. Otherwise, the Divine Soul True Lord realized that, given the unmatched power of the other party, he might very well die. He was, after all, a wandering immortal. Not only on this continent but across the nearby sea areas, his cultivation level was among the top. In an instant, many thoughts crossed the Divine Soul True Lord's mind. Finally, he coldly snorted, flicked his sleeves, and disappeared within a few steps. He left gracefully, yet in the people's eyes, it was a stance of fear, no matter how upright his posture was. The reason Guan didn't kill the Divine Soul True Lord was that the world was watching, and a public execution would not be good. Firstly, because the Seven Stars Spirit Realm was a holy land here to save the world, and secondly, to avoid drawing other great cultivators from the Star Caves. However, sometimes, not killing had a greater deterrent effect than killing. Not killing could both instill fear and leave room for the opponent to fantasize. Killing meant a never-ending vendetta. Guan looked up. The celestial might was dispersing. With the evil demon gone and unable to cross the tribulation, the heavenly tribulation naturally couldn't continue. He then vanished from the spot. Xian Tianyi, leaning against Gu An's leg, fell forward, and Ji Xianling appeared out of thin air, catching him before his forehead hit the ground. Seeing this, LV Badian immediately called for Supreme Sect disciples to follow him to rescue. Over 10,000 Supreme Sect cultivators flew up all at once, fearless, every one of them with excitement written on their faces. With Sword Venerable Fudao present, what did they have to fear? Leaders from other sects exchanged glances. The situation had exceeded their expectations, too much information challenging their understanding. Liang Canghai took a deep breath and said, "The three dynasties advance and retreat together." With that, he immediately flew towards Zhangtian's sect. Other sect leaders snapped out of it and went to give orders. Winning over Sword Venerable Fudao had become their most important task in years. The recent confrontation only solidified this belief. Sword Venerable Fudao turned out to be stronger than the Holy Land. In the Third Medicine Valley, Lu Lingjun watched as the illusions in the sky gradually dispersed, pulling her thoughts back to reality. Instinctively, she wanted to find Guan to discuss her observations from the battle but realized his presence was not in the valley. She unconsciously scanned Mystic Valley with her divine sense, finding Guan among the mountain woods nearby, inspecting medicinal herbs, and she breathed a sigh of relief. She showed a helpless smile. Such a great spectacle ignored, all he worried about were his plants. Truly hopeless. Elsewhere. In the inner sect city, Ji Xiaoyu stood on the eaves, glancing up at the sky. Even as the illusion started to fade, she did not avert her gaze. She hadn't seen the Divine Soul True Lord before but could feel his high status within the Seven Stars Spirit Realm. Such a powerful being was forced to retreat by Sword Venerable Fudao. Her eyes filled with complexity. Sword Venerable Fudao, who exactly are you? After this battle, she guessed the Seven Stars Spirit Realm would have to humble themselves. Before Sword Venerable Fudao came along, the Seven Stars Spirit Realm wouldn't dare to commit blatant evil, let alone now. However, the Seven Stars Spirit Realm would surely frantically investigate Sword Venerable Fudao, and the Ji family from the Supreme Sect would become their tool. Patriarch, was this outcome within your expectation? Ji Xiaoyu's lips curled into a smile as she turned to leave. Just as she turned, the inner sect city erupted in thunderous cheers. One city was but a microcosm of the world. The entire world erupted into a feverish celebration. Chapter 207. Like Pan and over the ocean, Divine Soul True Lord sat on a huge gourd, his arms crossed in front of his chest as the sea breeze blew his hair. He closed his eyes, frowning deeply. The more he thought, the angrier and more restless he became. After this battle, the prestige of the Holy Land would surely plummet. How could he not be angry? He just couldn't judge Sword Venerable Fudao's attitude towards the 7-star spiritual realm. For now, Sword Venerable Fudao did not seem hostile towards the 7-star spiritual realm. The previous Lin Jingxian killed himself, and Ji Xianling went to the Supreme Sect without incident. This time was no different. Sword Venerable Fudao only pushed him back and did not strike a killing blow. He couldn't tell if Sword Venerable Fudao feared the 7-star spiritual realm or had no killing intent from the start. In fact, when the evil demon attacked the wandering immortal realm, Divine Soul True Lord had sensed it but deliberately did not intervene. He allowed the Lin family loose immortal and disciples to be devoured by the evil demon to create a more terrifying image of the evil demon. The stronger the evil demon, the more prestige he would gain by exterminating it. Secondly, he wanted to use this opportunity to eliminate the Lin family, thus removing the cause and effect of offending Sword Venerable Fudao. Had he succeeded, the 7-star spiritual realm would have maintained the prestige of the Holy Land while resolving any grudges with Sword Venerable Fudao, achieving a perfect outcome. But things went wrong. Sword Venerable Fudao acted ahead of schedule. It seems Sword Venerable Fudao is related to Xian Tianyi. Could he be from the Starseed congregations? The more he thought about it, the more likely Divine Soul True Lord found this possibility. Before Xian Tianyi joined the Starseed congregations, the Supreme Sect did not have such a great cultivator. He speculated that Xian Tianyi, knowing the demon disaster was imminent, had asked Sword Venerable Fudao for support in advance. That's right. It must be so. Divine Soul True Lord had heard that Xian Tianyi wrote a book entitled The Legend of Sword Venerable. He raised his right hand and took out a token, hesitating for a moment before probing it with his divine sense. Soon, he sensed a wave of divine sense from the token, and began to relay what had happened, along with his speculations. After a while, his face turned grim as he was obviously reprimanded. In the forest of Mystic Valley, Guan silently pondered. Ever since Divine Soul True Lord had left, his divine sense had been following him, preventing any unforeseen events. Seeing Divine Soul True Lord take out the token, Guan could guess he was contacting someone more powerful from the 7-star spiritual realm. Once Divine Soul True Lord placed the token back into his storage ring, Guan exhaled a long breath, his eyes growing cold. Judging by his expression, Guan hesitated. The lifespan foresight could only determine whether others had ill intentions towards his true form, while the 9 extremes yin-yang body could conceal his true form and obscure karmic calculations unless the other person linked Sword Venerable Fudao directly to his true form and harbored enmity. The mountain god's little figure had resembled Gu An's true form closely, without any divine skills to cloak it, which was why he could sense it. And the hateful heaven ancestor had discovered him directly through sword intent. After 30 minutes, Divine Soul True Lord landed on an island. As he entered a cave, Guan sensed a restriction and stopped following. Just remember this island. Guan stood up and walked back to Mystic Valley. The disciples in the valley were still excitedly discussing the sky illusion they had witnessed earlier, the image of Sword Venerable Fudao deeply ingraining in their minds. They also believed that the entity confronting Divine Soul True Lord was indeed Sword Venerable Fudao. Guan joined them, chatting for a while. The impact of this battle was even greater than when Sword Venerable Fudao killed the demon ancestor, not only because peace prevailed after defeating the evil demon, but also because it involved the Holy Land. When Guan returned to the third Medicine Valley, the disciples were gathered noisily, like in a busy market. Lu Lingjun, who had been waiting for him, pulled him into a pavilion, excitedly talking about Sword Venerable Fudao. Seeing her admire Sword Venerable Fudao so much filled Guan with satisfaction. He had to feign excitement and reciprocate the emotional value. For the next month, the Supreme Sect was in constant uproar, everyone full of excitement, various news spreading wildly within the sect. Guan went to the outer gates city twice, each time staying for 2 ancient hours, listening to the disciples on the streets praise Sword Venerable Fudao. It was worth noting that within this month, Guan noticed more cultivators arriving from the sea, some even in the realm of immortal path, spreading throughout the immortal cultivation world, gathering intelligence on the 7-star spiritual realm and sword venerable Fudao. Guan suspected they might be from another great power. He thought of hateful heaven ancestors foes from the Starseed congregations. The Starseed congregations was a colossal power at sea. At least in hateful heaven ancestors' mind, the Starseed congregations were on par with the 7-star spiritual realm. Could the Starseed congregations be preparing to strike at the 7-star spiritual realm? Although Guan let his imagination run wild, he remained calm, continuing his peaceful farming life. After all, no one knew that he was Sword Venerable Fudao. After the winter snow fell, the cultivators who had fought the evil demon began returning to the supreme sect. It was worth mentioning that Li Ya and Zhang Buku also returned. Sensing their auras flying towards Mystic Valley, Guan awaited them in advance. The two still shared the North Sea heavy sword. Zhang Buku, looking at the forest covered in snow, appeared nervous. He was returning to the Medicine Valley where his father used to live, eager to see Martial Uncle Gu again. The more Zhang Buku thought about it, the more nervous he became. Leah reminded him not to mention their injuries to Guan and to speak based on Guan's reactions. Zhang Buku felt helpless but could only agree. After a short while, Leah and Zhang Buku flew into Mystic Valley. Their arrival drew the attention of the servant disciples. Senior Brother Li. Lu Jiujia walked over excitedly, full of surprise. Of all those who had left Mystic Valley, who was the most formidable? Naturally, it was Li Ya. Despite losing miserably to Anhao and missing the golden list because of it, Li Ya's strength had earned the supreme sex recognition, making him Mystic Valley's pride. Li Ya looked at Lu Jiujia, knowing he was Guan's junior brother. He nodded slightly and said, "I am here to see your senior brother." Before Lu Jiujia could reply, a voice floated down from the pavilion, "Senior Brother Li, Buku. Come up." Hearing Guan's voice, Zhang Buku became excited. Li Ya glanced at him and then led him upstairs. Watching Li Ya's confident back, Lu Jiujia's eyes were full of envy. Li Ya lived the life he desired. Soon, Li Ya and Zhang Buku reached the upper floor and entered the room. Zhang Buku, seeing Guan, became so excited that he knelt down immediately. Li Ya hurriedly closed the door in fright. If word got out about his closest brother kneeling to his junior brother, it would be a scandal. "What are you doing? Get up quickly." Guan, sitting at the desk, said helplessly. Li Ya immediately pulled Zhang Buku up, glaring at him for losing face. Zhang Buku ignored Li Ya and looked at Guan with a silly grin. Guan gestured for them to sit and then got up to pour them tea. "Senior Brother Li, how have you been these years?" Guan asked warmly. Li Ya immediately started boasting about his encounters and his progress in cultivation. Throughout the conversation, Zhang Buku hesitated to speak. Guan placed 2 cups of tea before them. Zhang Buku wanted to stand and bow, but Guan stopped him with a look. Seeing Guan's one glance making Zhang Buku obedient, Li Ya felt a pang of jealousy amidst his storytelling. "By the way, junior brother Gu, when did you descend the mountain without telling me? If I had known you were visiting senior brother Zhang, I definitely would have gone too." Li Ya suddenly recalled, asking sternly. Guan rolled his eyes at him and said, "At that time, Buku was still a minor. Could you have come with me? You were focused on proving yourself." Li Ya heard this and gave an embarrassed smile. His relationship with Zhang Chuanxiu was average. Even if he had free time, he wouldn't have gone unless Guan insisted. Guan turned to Zhang Buku and asked, "How has it been following senior brother Li? Any injuries?" Zhang Buku was about to speak when Li Ya interrupted. "How could you get injured following me? These years, we've been a great team, having everything we wanted, and our cultivation has advanced rapidly." Seeing this, Zhang Buku could only nod. Then Li Ya shifted the topic to Sword Venerable Fudao, instantly changing the subject. Zhang Buku, who admired Sword Venerable Fudao, couldn't stop talking. Guan smiled at them, occasionally chiming in. Did Li Ya really take him for the primordial ancestor? The proud look on his face made Guan want to laugh. As for Zhang Buku, although excited, he wasn't as exaggerated as Liya. Hearing Guan praise Sword Venerable Fudao made Liya feel greatly satisfied. He wanted to tell Guan that Sword Venerable Fudao was their Li family primordial ancestor. But recalling the primordial ancestor's instructions, he could only hold back. He hadn't encountered the primordial ancestor in a long time. What was the primordial ancestor doing? Was he busy teaching Enhao? On the way back, Liya had communicated with Enhao, and compared to Enhao's progress, his achievements over the years were negligible. Once again, he felt sour. The primordial ancestor favored Enhao for his talent, but guided him out of blood and kinship. Guan didn't know what Liya was thinking but felt his mood suddenly drop. He didn't want to inquire and took the chance to focus on Zhang Buku, feeling slightly irritated by Liya's hogging of the conversation earlier. Bullying my nephew? Fine. Brother Li treats me well, really. One sentence from Zhang Buku caused Liya's blood pressure to soar. Guan, smirking, asked, Brother Li? Yes, we are sworn brothers, promising to live and die together. Zhang Buku said stoutly. He could help Liya hide some things, but not let him gain seniority. Liya's expression turned awkward. His gaze fell on the paper in front of Guan. Seizing the moment, he picked it up and asked abruptly, Junior Brother Gu, what are you writing? Guan smiled and replied, a book called Journey to the West. Journey to the West? Never heard of it. Just started writing it. All right then, I wish you to become a famed writer like Pannon. Liya skimmed a few lines before putting it back, mainly using it to divert the conversation. He didn't really care about Journey to the West. Zhu Beiji carrying his wife? What nonsense. This book seemed boring at first glance. Chapter 208 Hostility from the Divine Soul. True Lord. When Liya put down the paper, the conversation unconsciously turned back to Sword Venerable Fudao, as if they could talk about him endlessly. Zhang Buku said that earlier, when Sword Venerable Fudao made his move, he saw a blurred figure, suspecting it was Sword Venerable Fudao, who passed right in front of them. Liya also said he saw it, and the two were quite convinced. Guan found it amusing. He had deliberately let Enhao and the other two see him, accurately speaking, let the cultivators from the Supreme Sect notice that he was coming from there. With the limitless freedom step, Guan could move beside Divine Soul True Lord in one step. The three chatted for another ancient hour before Liya and Zhang Buku bade farewell. Liya was preparing to bring Zhang Buku into the sect, and there were many things to be busy with, so Guan naturally did not keep them. Watching them disappear into the heavy snow, Guan stood there for a while before entering the house. At the end of the year, as the spring festival approached, since the human race had completely overcome the demon calamity, it seemed peaceful days were ahead, so LV Baixia ordered an extravagant spring festival celebration this year. Before the spring festival even arrived, each city began preparations, and this atmosphere also affected Mystic Valley and the Third Medicine Valley. To welcome the new era, LV Badian issued various decrees, raising the treatment of every level of disciple, down to even the servant disciples, making the entire sect jubilant. Riding the blood prison Great Saint, Guan strolled through the outer gate city. He could sense many people hiding their cultivation levels in the city, with more than 20 Mystic Heart Realm cultivators, 3 Mahayana Realm, and 1 in the Nirvana Realm. These people were all from overseas, and in the past year they had been gathering various intelligence, mainly about the views of Supreme Sect cultivators on the Holy Land 7 Stars Spirit Realm and Sword Venerable Fudao. They did not affect Guan, so he could not be bothered with them. Along the way, Guan met many old acquaintances, some who graduated from Medicine Valley, and some fellow disciples he met at the Book Collection Hall and Elixir Hall. Engaging in small talk, he did not feel bored, but rather found it interesting. Listening to friends' current endeavors in immortal cultivation also broadened his experience. The spring festival atmosphere enveloped every street, even the blood prison Great Saint looked around curiously. Unknowingly, Guan arrived at the Heavenly Repair Platform again. The vast Heavenly Repair Platform was crowded and noisy, with many outer disciples standing guard around the edges. First vanquish the demon ancestor, then eliminate the evil demon, Sword Venerable Fudeo's prestige had reached its peak. Even disciples from other sects would come to the heavenly repair platform to worship the words, righteous path. The entire immortal cultivation world was discussing Sword Venerable Fudao, and it was worth mentioning that the Sword Venerable legend written by Xian Tianyi had become a hit. In the book, Sword Venerable Fudao liked to tap his enemies on the shoulder at night, which corresponded perfectly with the earlier scene where he pressed down on Divine Soul True Lord's shoulder, making people wonder if Green Hero knew Sword Venerable Fudao. Guan just watched from below the platform. There were many like him, mostly Foundation Establishment Realm and Qi Cultivation Realm, content to watch the excitement from afar. Then, Guan patted the Blood Prison Great Saint, guiding it. With the festival coming, he had to prepare gifts for the disciples. This year's Spring Festival held a different meaning, as the Supreme Sect was ready for rapid development. The previous Golden List Conference, Alchemy Meeting, and the world's first Sword Dao Conference had accumulated enormous wealth for the Supreme Sect, and now with the world in peace, it was time to make great strides. Guan also needed to gather high-rank medical herbs for the Grotto Heaven. Suddenly, a prompt appeared before Guan's eyes. Divine Soul True Lord has developed hostility towards you and formed the intention to kill. Would you like to perform lifespan detection on him? A prompt suddenly appeared before Guan's eyes, making him frown. Well then. Guan took a deep breath and chose to perform lifespan detection. He had looked before and wanted to see again because this time it was about his own life. Divine Soul True Lord, Wandering Immortal Realm 3rd Layer 28098/13000/180000. Currently, he had around 10,000 years of life left. He should be able to seize 10,000 years of life. Guan changed his mind and had the Blood Prison Great Saint leave the outer gate city, heading outside instead of towards the inner sect, finding an uninhabited forest to stay for a while. Within a secluded palace, the floor reflected a luminous glow, with many spirit stones embedded in the stone pillars on both sides. It was these spirit stones that illuminated the hall. At the end of the hall, Divine Soul True Lord sat at the head seat, holding a scroll. He slowly opened his eyes and looked at the black-clad man kneeling in the hall, saying, "You may leave." The black-clad man immediately turned and left. Once the door closed again, Divine Soul True Lord frowned, with his left hand supporting his cheek and his right hand holding the scroll, deep in thought. His gaze occasionally glanced at the scroll in his hand. Xian Tianyi, Divine Soul True Lord muttered to himself. Since leaving the continent, although he feared Sword Venerable Fudao, he had not given up. He had ordered Supreme Sect spies to investigate all of Xian Tianyi's relationships, and the scroll in his hand recorded everyone closely related to Xian Tianyi. The rising power of the evil demon was likely related to Xian Tianyi, and Sword Venerable Fudao intervened to save him. No matter how he thought about it, Divine Soul True Lord blamed Xian Tianyi for the failure in the battle against the evil demon. So he developed a murderous intent towards Xian Tianyi and his close associates. But he dared not act rashly, for perhaps Sword Venerable Fudao was among them in disguise. The mere thought of Sword Venerable Fudao made Divine Soul True Lord feel troubled. Fortunately, the 3-star cave had not contacted him much over these years, or he really wouldn't know how to report back. Sigh. Divine Soul True Lord sighed, stood up, and prepared to head to the small spirit realm to seclude himself. The 7-star spirit realm needed to maintain its image and avoid being discovered by nearby great powers. As the high-standing cave master, he only needed to issue orders and would not personally manage things. He took 2 steps forward, just about to descend the steps. A hand suddenly landed on his shoulder. Although it was just a light tap, his heart stopped. He couldn't forget the feeling of being tapped on the shoulder by Sword Venerable Fudao. Fear instinctively arose in his heart, and as he was about to speak, an overwhelming mana surged into his body, instantly turning his flesh into ashes, and even his primordial spirit vanished. The gap between the 9th layer of the heaven and earth flying immortal realm and the 3rd layer of the wandering immortal realm was immense. In front of Guan, Divine Soul True Lord was no different from an ant. The scroll in Divine Soul True Lord's hand also turned to ashes along with him. Guan, who had performed the 9 extremes yin-yang body technique, vanished as if he had never appeared. He quickly returned to the Supreme Sect, emerging from the bushes and walking towards the Blood Prison Great Saint. He had been out of the Blood Prison Great Saint's sight for less than 10 breaths. With its cultivation sealed, the Blood Prison Great Saint had no idea what he had done and immediately stood up after seeing him return. Guan hung the wildflowers he had casually picked on the Blood Prison Great Saint's horns and directed it towards Mystic Valley. The Blood Prison Great Saint did not think much and carried Guan away. At this moment, Guan appeared calm, but his heart was far from at peace. He looked again at the prompt. Killing Divine Soul True Lord had given him 10,500 years of life. The wandering immortal realm was indeed formidable, no longer akin to weeds. When he killed Divine Soul True Lord, Guan did not even dare to perform a soul search, as Divine Soul True Lord surely knew many high realm immortals, and he feared that soul searching might alert those powerful beings. He was already peering into the way of cause and effect. If he delved deeply into this path, it would be like gaining foresight of potential life threats. He had not even explored that cave. For a great cultivator like Divine Soul True Lord to disappear for decades or even 100 years was not unusual. It remained to be seen whether the Seven Stars Spirit Realm had a device to contact its disciples. Guan had once read a book stating that some sects across the seas possessed special artifacts. When a sect member perished, they could detect it immediately. Anyway, he would take a gamble. Guan would not allow someone harboring murderous intent towards him to live. The longer they were left unchecked, the greater the danger. After the Spring Festival, the Supreme Sect began promoting the world's first cultivation meeting. What was the cultivation meeting? This idea, inspired by the heaven-cutting axe, was to create a heavy object that participants would control with spiritual power. The announcement of this meeting caused widespread interest in the immortal cultivation world. Such a meeting had never been held before. LV Badian planned to prepare for 5 years and even hinted at participation from overseas cultivators. Since killing Divine Soul True Lord, Guan observed the territory of the 3 dynasties every day with his divine sense. Fortunately, everything was peaceful, and the lifespan detection had not been triggered. In mid-March, LV Badian visited Guan. The two drank wine in the house, with Guan listening carefully to LV Badian's ambitious plans, occasionally interjecting. He did not understand how to manage a sect but could offer some suggestions. Currently, LV Badian's ideas aligned with his own. LV Badian put all his efforts outward, and the entire sect worked hard for its growth, reducing internal strife significantly. The Supreme Sect enjoyed unprecedented harmony. Even though the world appears peaceful now, I still feel uneasy, just like half a year ago when dealing with the evil demon. That mysterious cultivator, his cultivation was incomparably strong. LV Badian put down his wine bowl and sighed. That person was already dead. Guan silently answered in his heart but said, wasn't it said that the person was an immortal senior from the Holy Land? The Holy Land shouldn't bring calamity, right? LV Badian curled his lips and said, who knows? Alright, let's not talk about this. I just hope that in my lifetime, the Supreme Sect can produce someone who surpasses the Mahayana realm. For this, I will spare no effort. Guan nodded and said, and Hao is exceptionally talented, he is the best candidate. Indeed. LV Badian smiled. After experiencing the demon calamity, he seemed to have a new perspective on and Hao. This was good too. He hoped LV Badian would focus on and Hao, as Guan did not want to become the sect leader. The two talked for a long time before LV Badian finally bade farewell. He had gained new ideas from Guan. Even before the world's first cultivation meeting began, he was already planning the next grand event. After LV Badian left, Guan did not stay long at the Third Medicine Valley either. He returned to Mystic Valley, then quietly left. He continuously used the Limitless Freedom step, quickly distancing himself from the mainland. After several steps, he arrived on a vast island, the most prosperous in this sea area, with a cultivator population exceeding 5 million, always bustling with people. He did not disguise himself since the Supreme Sect was so far away. Even a Mahayana realm cultivator would take a lot of time to get here, and there were countless sea demons along the way. Here, no one recognized him. The purpose of this trip was to purchase medicinal herb seeds. His grotto heaven only grew herbs of the 7th rank or higher. Chapter 209 Meng Lang, Loose Immortal Realm Level 6. Before coming, Guan had already observed with his divine sense that the strongest on the island was slightly stronger than a divine soul true lord, but not by much. If there was a heaven and earth flying immortal, he would not have dared to come. If there was a heaven and earth flying immortal, then there could be an even higher realm. If the strongest on the surface was only a wandering immortal, there should not be a more terrifying existence hidden in the shadows. Even if there was, as long as Guan did not cause trouble, nothing should happen. He went to the Sea Protection Mansion in the city, intending to conduct a transaction and register for an identity token, which would allow him to enter and exit the various buildings. This was information he had gathered with his divine sense earlier. The Sea Protection Mansion was very large, with many cultivators coming and going, covering an area of 100 miles. As soon as Guan entered, a servant greeted him. "Senior, may I ask what you are here for?" "To register for an identity token." "All right, let me take you there." "This way, please." The servant's demeanor was very respectful and enthusiastic. Guan followed him. There were many servants like him. Although their attire was not luxurious, it was clean and respectful. From the color of their clothes, their status in the Sea Protection Mansion could be judged. The clothes of this servant were the most common. After asking Guan if he was a newcomer, the servant began to introduce the Sea Protection Mansion and the island to him. This island was called Immortal Seeking Island, a famous neutral island in the ocean. Transactions could be conducted here safely. If something went wrong, the island master would ensure justice. Moreover, connections could be made with great sects such as the Star Sea Congregations, 7 Stars Spirit Realm, and Deep Sea Spirit Palace. When introducing the background of Immortal Seeking Island, the servant was not arrogant, remaining humble, which Guan found impeccable. When Guan asked for his name, the servant was flattered and quickly introduced himself. Actually, even without his introduction, Guan already knew, but it was necessary to go through the formalities. Hu Xiaojian, Nascent Soul Realm, 2nd Layer 480/860/2200. A lifespan of this extent could make him a genius in the Supreme Sect, but on Immortal Seeking Island, he could only serve as a servant. Guan sighed inwardly. "By the way, Senior, have you reached the Immortal Path Realm? If so, I can guide you to obtain a high-rank identity token, which comes with various benefits." Hu Xiaojian asked cautiously. He could tell from Guan's extraordinary bearing, though not overbearing, that Guan was likely a great cultivator who had returned to simplicity. Guan responded affirmatively, making Hu Xiaojian even more excited. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, under Hu Xiaojian's guidance, Guan arrived at a large hall where most of the cultivators coming and going were in the Mahayana realm or Nirvana realm. The Nirvana realm cultivators were likely outsiders like Guan, while the Mahayana realm cultivators belonged to the Sea Protection Mansion. As for loose immortals, they were rare to encounter. Hu Xiaojian approached an elderly man and explained Guan's intention. The elder immediately stood up and led the two to a side hall. Chu Feng, Nirvana Realm, 5th Layer 3860/15000/17000. Guan silently noted this information, then followed Chu Feng. Chu Feng took a white jade token, uninscribed, from a redwood cabinet, handed it to Guan, and said, "Inject your mana into this, then silently recite your name to register." Guan took the white jade token, adjusted his cultivation level, and injected his mana. After a few breaths, he raised the identity token to show Chu Feng. Meng Lang, Loose Immortal Realm, 6th Layer. Chu Feng read aloud, then quickly raised his hand in salute, respectfully addressing him as senior. Hu Xiaojian was even more excited, also saluting. Guan put away the identity token and casually asked, "I heard there are many benefits to a high-rank identity token?" Chu Feng nodded and respectfully introduced the benefits of a high-rank identity token. Tax transaction discounts, permanent cave residence, allocation of 5 servants, and more. Guan was very pleased with what he heard and ultimately decided to have Hu Shaojian lead the way, making Hu Shaojian feel flattered while Chu Feng smiled and encouraged Hu Shaojian. Thus, Guan began his procurement journey on Immortal Seeking Island. First, he had to exchange for spirit stones. It was worth mentioning that on Immortal Seeking Island, the basic currency was a top-grade spirit stone. Low-grade and mid-grade spirit stones were not allowed here. Low-rank cultivators did not even have the qualification to enter the island, a harsh reality. But on second thought, who below the nascent soul realm could cross the ocean to reach Immortal Seeking Island? Immortal Seeking Island was surrounded by millions of miles of sea, with no other islands around. As for the mainland, it was even farther away. To Hu Shaojian, the Seven Stars spirit realm was a distant power. He had heard most about the star sea congregations, the overlords of the ocean. In the evening, Guan returned to Mystic Valley. Purchasing medicinal herbs took time, not a one-time deal. However, Immortal Seeking Island had plenty of high-rank medicinal herbs, even offering 9th-rank medicinal herbs, enough to meet Guan's needs. It was said that every few decades, Immortal Path spirit trees might even be auctioned on Immortal Seeking Island. After greeting the disciples in the valley, he went upstairs. Once the procurement was done, it would be time to publish Journey to the West. Today's trip to Immortal Seeking Island had put Guan in a good mood. Using the name Meng Lang was a way to commemorate an old friend. He was not worried about being recognized. Most people who knew Guan would never reach Immortal Seeking Island in their lifetimes. As for geniuses like Xian Tianyi and An Hao, without advancing to the Immortal Path realm, they would find it difficult to come. If Xian Tianyi had connections with the Star Sea congregations, he might have the chance to go to Immortal Seeking Island, but he had never heard of Meng Lang. Guan thought that many years later, if he met Xian Tianyi overseas, Xian Tianyi's expression would be interesting. Speaking of Xian Tianyi, that guy was still recovering from his injuries in the Supreme Sect. Who knows when he would recover his strength? Guan set aside these thoughts and focused on writing. A month later. Having just turned 98, Guan came to Nianshu Cave. He found Tian Yaoer and brought her into his grotto heaven, then took out a large number of medicinal herb seeds and handed them to her for planting. Looking at the multitude of seeds, Tian Yaoer's eyes widened, her breath quickening. How long will this take to plant? Guan had spent all his wealth, yet only a quarter of it was used. He chuckled softly, these seeds are at least 7th order. Be careful, if you ruin any, they'll have to hold you accountable. 7th order, 7th order? Tian Yaoer was stunned, then thrilled. With so many high-rank medicinal herbs properly planted, the spiritual energy here would be abundant, wouldn't it? She immediately began to take action. Guan, on the other hand, infused his mana into the ground, converting it into 5-element spiritual energy. Relying solely on the grotto heaven to absorb earth spirit energy was too slow. Fortunately, the heaven and earth primordial skill documented a sorcery on how to convert mana into spiritual energy. Busy days awaited. Time flew by, and the immortal cultivation world welcomed a period of peace. In the blink of an eye, 2 years had passed. Guan's total lifespan had reached 6,700,000 years. He had planted all the high-rank medicinal herbs he had purchased in his grotto heaven, but the maturity time for 7th-order medicinal grass was extremely long, so he had to be patient. Though the wait was long, once harvested, it would be an enormous amount of lifespan. Moreover, 7th-order medicinal grass had a strong life force and required little oversight. That year, the Supreme Sect had grown much stronger. Meanwhile, the Taizong dynasty and the Tianwei dynasty had begun to war, while the Great Jiang dynasty remained stable, not participating in the conflict. The dynastic struggles were cruel but not a catastrophe, having no impact on the immortal cultivation world. Guan planned to achieve core formation that year. His surface cultivation level needed to be improved. One day at noon, Xian Tianyi came to visit Guan. As they entered the house to chat, Xian Tianyi cast many restrictions first. He was now the strongest cultivator in the Supreme Sect but still deployed many restrictions, indicating his awareness of several great cultivators infiltrating the supreme sect. Did you see the celestial phenomenon from that battle? Xiantiani turned to Guan and asked solemnly. Guan nodded, then motioned for him to sit and talk. Bam! Xiantiani slammed the table in fury, cursing, I was schemed against by the 7-star spirit realm. A bunch of bastards. This isn't over. Guan's eyelids twitched. Why are you telling me this? He suddenly suspected that the Divine Soul True Lord's hostility towards him a few months ago was due to investigating Xiantiani's connections. The 7-star spirit realm? Are you talking about the Holy Land? Guan asked cautiously. Xiantiani sat down, took a deep breath, and said, yes, I was thrown into the evil demon's sealing ground by cultivators from the 7-star spirit realm. If not for Sword Venerable Fudeo's intervention, they would have wanted to eliminate me completely. How hateful. Divine Soul True Lord, just you wait. Guan said worriedly, the Holy Land is powerful. You mustn't be reckless. Even the entire Supreme Sect wouldn't be enough. Xiantiani looked at him and snorted, I know that, but I'm not just a disciple of the Supreme Sect. I'm also a disciple of the Star Sea congregations. My peers have already infiltrated the Supreme Sect. I'm planning to head south and inform my master about this. The Star Sea congregations and the 7-star spirit realm both follow the righteous path and do not harm the common people. I will ensure the 7-star spirit realm doesn't have it easy. How bold. You have a backer, and you didn't say so earlier? Forcing me to take risks? Guan complained inwardly, feeling helpless. Xiantiani, seeing through his thoughts, said with a hint of regret, after all, it is the 7-star spirit realm. Without a legitimate reason, the Star Sea congregations would not act. I don't have that kind of influence, but if I had evidence, it would be different. Anyway, the 7-star spirit realm won't have a good time coming. Guan cautioned him, though I don't know how powerful the Star Sea congregations are, be careful. The journey south is long, if anything happens on the way. He didn't finish his sentence, but Xiantiani understood. No worries. I will be accompanied by other disciples of the Star Sea congregations, and there will be Immortal Path seniors overseeing from abroad. The 7-star spirit realm won't dare to act rashly. Xiantiani reassured him. Guan felt relieved. Xiantiani then said, you focus on your cultivation. Someday, it'll take you into the Star Sea congregations. You might gain immortal destiny. Guan shook his head, forget it. The ocean is a place for the high and mighty. As a mere mortal, I'll stay in the Supreme Sect. I don't want to be a burden. Xiantiani tried to persuade him further but was diverted by Guan, who asked him when he would return. Xiantiani said it depended on the situation, ranging from a few years to several decades. But he would definitely return, as his next goal was to help develop the Supreme Sect. Although he was angry, he saw this as an opportunity. If the Star Sea congregations pressured the 7-star spirit realm, the Supreme Sect could develop. Even though he now belonged to the Star Sea congregations, he wanted to help the Supreme Sect. In any case, he believed that no matter how the Supreme Sect developed, it could never catch up to the Star Sea congregations. Chapter 210, Journey to the West emerges, shocking the world. Guan chatted with Xiantiani for a full 2 ancient hours. Before leaving, Guan even gave him half a set of Journey to the West. So many years had passed, he had already written Journey to the West, but he wanted to release it later and kept refining his calligraphy, so he had rewritten Journey to the West many times. The reason for giving Xiantiani only half was because he was afraid Xiantiani might leak it. Always leave some suspense. After Xiantiani left, Guan followed downstairs and rode the Blood Prison Great Saint to the Mystic Valley. Yilan was waiting for him in the pavilion. He dismounted from the Blood Prison Great Saint's back and leisurely went upstairs. When the two met, they exchanged pleasantries. Over the past year, Yilan had been very busy and could only come to see him during the spring festival. Senior brother, you are turning 100 this year. How about a celebration? Yilan asked with a smile. Guan shook his head and said, "Why would a cultivator celebrate a big birthday?" "No need, I don't like trouble." Yilan nodded and didn't press further. She just mentioned it casually. After all, 100 years was an important milestone. They started chatting. Yilan didn't have any special reason to see Guan, she just missed him. They talked about everything, from the supreme sect to the immortal cultivation world, and even about the common folk. Most of the time, Yilan did the talking, and Guan chimed in. A long time passed. Guan was concerned about her primordial reincarnation skill. Yilan said that she practiced it daily, although her cultivation level hadn't increased, she could feel the accumulation of the primordial reincarnation skill. Guan took out a large number of prepared supreme-grade elixirs for her, telling her to take them promptly. In 20 years, she would need to unseal the primordial reincarnation skill. By then, it was unknown how much her maximum lifespan would increase. Faced with Guan's gifts and arrangements, Yilan did not refuse and instead showed a happy smile. Seeing her smile, Guan couldn't help but shiver. "Junior sister, don't misunderstand, I will always be your senior brother," Guan said seriously. Yilan nodded with a smile. She stood up, walked to Guan's side, and placed her hands on his shoulders. It had always been him who patted others' shoulders, only his junior sister could pat his. Well, she was his junior sister, after all. "Sit down, no hands on." "Oh, senior brother, I won't do anything inappropriate, just like last time." "You dare mention last time? What's wrong with a little touch?" "I promise I won't go further." "Don't speak such bold words, sit down, I have something to tell you." "Say it, I'll just stand by your side." 3 days later, Guan rode the Blood Prison Great Saint to the outer gate city. He made his way to the book collection hall. The great elder of the book collection hall, Feng Shang, personally received Guan. After they were seated, Feng Shang asked with a smile, "Shattering the Void is finished. Do you have a new book in mind?" Though Shattering the Void's reputation wasn't as great as Investiture of the Gods, it made a lot of money, benefiting not only him but the entire Outer Gate City as well. Their Outer Gate City had become the top among the 8 Outer Gate cities, with Sword Venerable Fudao in martial and Pannon in literature. Every time he read Investiture of the Gods, Feng Shang felt Guan resembled Sword Venerable Fudao. But thinking that Guan was not yet 100 years old, he found his speculation absurd. Though perhaps Pannon was somehow related to Sword Venerable Fudao, maybe this was why Pannon refused to write about Sword Venerable Fudao, fearing people might discover the connection. Guan took out 5 books from his storage bag, which were the first half of Journey to the West. Feng Shang picked up the topmost book and, seeing the cover, he couldn't help but read aloud, "Journey to the West?" The name sounded ordinary. He was a bit disappointed, but considering Pan's fame, even an ordinary book would earn spirit stones. He began to read, and after a few moments, his expression changed slightly. He straightened his back and read more intently. As time went on, his right hand began to tremble. When he read about Sun Wukong causing havoc in the heavenly palace, he couldn't help but slap his thigh in excitement. Guan shook his head and laughed. He stood up and said, "The books are yours. Leave the rest to you." Having worked with the book collection hall for so many years, he naturally didn't worry about them deceiving him. Upon hearing this, Feng Shang quickly stood up, excitedly saying, "Journey to the West will definitely be a hit. This is a divine book comparable to Investiture of the Gods. No, it's even better than Investiture of the Gods." Journey to the West had a stronger narrative ability and the plot was highly engaging. Watching Sun Wukong's birth, his struggle for kingship, and his journey to the sea to seek immortality, he felt it resonated well with the cultivators in the immortal cultivation world. Furthermore, when the heavenly court appointed Sun Wukong as the horse's fortune, and he endured humiliation in heaven, he couldn't help but anticipate Sun Wukong's rebellion. He hadn't expected Sun Wukong to actually cause havoc in the heavenly palace. It was truly powerful. Feng Shang genuinely admired Guan, who could think of anything. Moreover, the spells, Dharma treasures, and powers in Journey to the West felt real, as he had heard similar legends before. There were stories of a dragon palace under the sea, immortals in the heavens, and sages overseas, among others. Guan smiled at him and, without saying much, turned and left. Feng Sheng watched Guan walk out the door, with sunlight shining on him, feeling dazed. Truly an immortal. Guan found the blood prison great saint and rode it away from the book collection hall. Along the street, he occasionally encountered old acquaintances, greeting them with a smile. After the Ji family withdrew from the Supreme Sect, the Zhou family also switched to the Zhangtian sect. The departure of the two great families happened quietly. Had it been decades earlier, the Supreme Sect would have been severely weakened, but now, there didn't seem to be any impact. Instead, the Supreme Sect had grown even stronger. However, Guan heard other family names from the passing cultivators. This was the Supreme Sect. When some left, others would take their place. This was a sign of continuous prosperity. Who knew when the Supreme Sect would reach the levels of the Seven Stars Spirit Realm and the Star Sea congregations? At that time, how many of his old acquaintances would still be around? Gu An's thoughts drifted with the bumping of the ox's back, fantasizing about scenes thousands or even tens of thousands of years in the future. A blink of an eye. Another year passed. This year, the Supreme Sect's first Under Heaven's cultivation level tournament was about to commence, but the hottest topic was a book. Journey to the West. With the release of Pan An's Journey to the West, the entire immortal cultivation world was shaken. Initially thought to be another mediocre book like Supreme Immortal Venerable or Shattering the Void, it turned out to be a classical type like Investiture of the Gods. Great Sage equaling Heaven's Son Wukong became the most popular name in the Three Dynasties immortal cultivation world. Panan was once again elevated to a godlike status. With just one Journey to the West, people no longer doubted his talent, and some even claimed that Journey to the West was superior to Investiture of the Gods. LV Badian seized the opportunity to leverage the popularity of Journey to the West, declaring that the person who won the top spot in the first Under Heaven's cultivation level tournament would earn the title of Great Sage. This ignited even more interest and anticipation for the first Under Heaven's cultivation level tournament. Because of Journey to the West, Pan An's fame within the Supreme Sect even overshadowed Sword Venerable Fudao for a while. Panan had initiated a trend of book chasing in the immortal cultivation world. Now, he once again outshone Sword Venerable Fudao through his literary work. In fact, many immortal cultivation stories had emerged after Panan, but most cultivators still felt Pan An's writings were the best. Guan thought this was due to the initial euphoria of the first read, as the immortal cultivation world certainly had many literary talented cultivators. One day, Guan rode the blood prison Great Saint once again to the outer gate city. He felt there would be some excitement to watch today. The city was bustling with people, cultivators coming and going ceaselessly, very lively, almost like celebrating the spring festival. Guan saw many cultivators in strange costumes, and even shape-shifting demons. Now, the Supreme Sect had begun recruiting demon clan disciples, with great results. Each year, around 10,000 shape-shifting demons would come to apprentice. The main character in Journey to the West being a demon had made the entire demon community more favorable towards the Supreme Sect. Arriving at the surroundings of the Heavenly Repair platform, the blood prison Great Saint halted. He heard people around talking. Have you read Journey to the West? The book collection hall put up another batch yesterday, and I managed to get a copy. Then lend it to me. I read an unofficial version that doesn't contain Pan An's handwriting. Recently, more and more people have been challenging the heaven-cutting axe. They say that whoever can lift the heaven-cutting axe can secure the top spot in the first Under Heaven's cultivation level tournament. You're joking. Even the champion can't possibly lift the heaven-cutting axe. Some were talking about Journey to the West, some about Sword Venerable Fudao, but most were discussing the first Under Heaven's cultivation level tournament. Guan silently counted down. After a while, he thought to himself, here it comes. A dominating aura enveloped the Heavenly Repair platform, followed by a loud voice that echoed throughout the city. I am the foremost cultivator of Lingxia, Qiao Dai. All of you move aside. I want to challenge the heaven-cutting axe. Boom! The entire city trembled. Everyone looked towards the sky above the heavenly repair platform and saw a majestic figure floating in the air. It was a man in a yellow robe, wearing a golden crown and a python belt, with an aura like a swirling dragon around him. Guan cast a lifespan detection spell on him. Qiao Dai, Mahayana Realm 9th Layer 898/8900/8900, an extreme lifespan of 8,900 years. Among Nirvana dead, he was second only to Anhao and the Blood Prison Great Saint, even surpassing Xian Tianyi. Guan could feel that this person contained chi blood beyond the Mahayana realm. Of course, it was only beyond. Reaching the Nirvana realm was impossible. The weakest in the Nirvana realm was stronger than the strongest in the Mahayana realm. This was the barrier between the mortal and the immortal. People around the heaven-cutting axe gave way, and Xiao Dai descended. Many were discussing where Lingxia was. Guan knew about Lingxia. It was the dynasty in the far north of the continent, created by the Seven Stars Spirit Realm. Everyone in that dynasty was a descendant of the Seven Stars Spirit Realm cultivators. But the territories of the three dynasties hadn't interacted with Lingxia yet. Zhuo Yijian stood beside the heaven-cutting axe, eyeing Qiao Dai. Qiao Dai exuded an emperor's aura, and with each step, a dragon's roar accompanied him, which made Zhuo Yijian secretly marvel. When he reached the heaven-cutting axe, Qiao Dai didn't try to lift it immediately. Instead, he looked at Zhuo Yijian and said, "Move away, so you don't get hurt." Zhuo Yijian was instantly infuriated, crumpling the journey to the west in his hand. An elder in the unification realm appeared out of thin air and said, "Listen to him, everyone back off." Upon hearing this, Zhuo Yijian reluctantly retreated. The cultivators meditating around the righteous words also got up, including Di Xie. Ji Hantian appeared among the crowd, watching Qiao Dai with solemn eyes. The Ji family had close ties with the Seven Stars Spirit Realm, and he had met Qiao Dai in the Seven Stars Spirit Realm. At that time, he was still young, and Qiao Dai was already the most famous genius in the Seven Stars Spirit Realm. Though most of the Ji family had joined the Seven Stars Spirit Realm, Ji Hantian had a strong aversion to it, which made him dislike Qiao Dai. He couldn't help but say, "Without immortal path cultivation, don't dream of challenging." Chapter 211 The unfathomable Guan. Xiao Dai ignored Ji Hantian's provocation and fixed his gaze on the heaven-cutting axe. Everyone looked at him. Over the years, there were countless cultivators who came to challenge the heaven-cutting axe, but few had such a commanding presence like him. The number one cultivator in Lingxia, it sounded quite intimidating. Though Qiao Dai appeared calm, in fact, he was very nervous inside. In recent years, Sword Venerable Fudao's prestige was incredibly strong, spreading widely even within the spirit realm. Qiao Dai knew he could not possibly be a match for Sword Venerable Fudao, but since the heaven-cutting axe was merely a treasure left behind by Sword Venerable Fudao, he still had confidence in lifting it. He raised his right hand and gripped the handle of the axe. At the moment he grasped it, he felt an unprecedented heaviness. His brows furrowed, and he immediately began to exert force. Rumble, the heavenly repair platform quaked, and everyone watched him nervously. No matter which sect they were from, the cultivators on the platform did not want him to lift it. The disciples of the Supreme Sect cared about face, while disciples from other sects cared about opportunity. Who wouldn't want to become the heir of Sword Venerable Fudao? To this day, Sword Venerable Fudao had become a figure of worship for all sects under three dynasties. Under Guan, the Blood Prison Great Saint secretly marveled. He too wanted to try lifting the heaven-cutting axe. So far, the only person he couldn't surpass was the one on his back. This fellow named Qiao Dai was different. The Blood Prison Great Saint could sense that Qiao Dai's cultivation level was even higher than his own. If Qiao Dai couldn't move the axe, then he would have no hope. This made him even more wary of Sword Venerable Fudao. Just leaving a Dharma treasure on the platform, and over the years, no one could lift it, let alone move it. It was unimaginable how high Sword Venerable Fudao's cultivation realm must be. Xiao Dai also started using a secret technique, making his momentum soar, causing even the outer city to tremble. More and more figures appeared on the heavenly repair platform, all high-ranking members of the Supreme Sect. They looked at Xiao Dai with eyes full of fear. But as they watched, the great cultivators of the Supreme Sect began to smile. The momentum was terrifying, but it was useless. If it couldn't be lifted, it just couldn't be lifted. Zui Yijin watched Xiao Dai's contorted face with silent glee. Let him be arrogant, with such limited skills, he dared to challenge the heaven-cutting axe. In the end, Xiao Dai did not become like Xian Tianyi or Ji Xianling. He only attempted for a few breaths before his momentum suddenly receded. He stood straight, withdrew his right hand, and said, as expected of Sword Venerable Fudao, I, Xiao Dai, admit defeat. His voice echoed throughout the city, resonating endlessly. Even though his words were boastful, many people wanted to ask who he was, having never heard of him before. But recalling Xiao Dai's earlier momentum, no one dared offend him. Not daring to offend Xiao Dai, they all praised Sword Venerable Fudao instead. Suddenly, the heavenly repair platform became lively, and everyone started discussing the strength of Sword Venerable Fudao. Xiao Dai looked at Ji Hantian and snorted, "Where is your sect leader? I want to meet him." Ji Hantian nodded, then motioned for Xiao Dai to follow. The two quickly left the outer city. Guan patted the back of the blood prison great saint, signaling it could go. After leaving the outer city, Guan said leisurely, "In a few years, I will let you reach the second level, able to speak human words." Hearing this, the blood prison great saint's eyes brightened. Not being able to speak was really unbearable. He couldn't wait to curse those ants who kept touching him all day long. But remember, there are things you can say and things you can't, Guan reminded. The blood prison great saint nodded quickly. Actually, there wasn't much he could say, as he had no idea how strong Guan really was. Day by day passed, and it came to the end of summer. On the peak of the mountain north of Mystic Valley, Guan was sparring with Chu Jingfeng in swordsmanship. While swinging his sword, Gu An's divine sense spread out, surveying the continent inside and out. He saw a heaven and earth flying immortal traversing the sky, descending to the mortal world at the eastern end of the firmament. Over the years, he saw many figures coming and going between heaven and earth. Though heaven and earth flying immortals were rare, at his level, he could see at least one every day, showing how vast this mortal world was. Heaven and earth flying immortals were not the strongest. Even at the heaven and earth flying immortal realm, Gu An's divine sense could not cover the entire mortal world. No wonder it was called the Great Heavenly Spirit Land. This mortal world was truly vast. For Guan, the bigger this world was, the better. The larger the world, the smaller and more insignificant he felt. After a while, Guan sensed a vast aura erupting from the eastern direction, far from the continent, even farther than Immortal-Seeking Island. But that aura made his heart tremble. It was very powerful. It didn't seem like the aura of a living being's cultivation, but rather some kind of supreme treasure. Could it be that someone from beyond the heavens came for this mysterious supreme treasure? It seemed highly possible to Guan. At this moment, Chu Jingfeng sheathed his sword, gasping, "I'm exhausted, can't match you." He looked at Guan with a complex expression. Every time he felt his swordsmanship had improved significantly, he would spar with Guan. Each time, it seemed he was about to win, but the result was always defeat. The two competed in swordsmanship without using spiritual power, purely relying on qi. Of course, if he couldn't defeat Guan before his qi was depleted, it meant his swordsmanship wasn't superior to Gu An's. Guan smiled, "Just a little more, you are much stronger than before." Chu Jingfeng wiped the sweat off his forehead and stared at Guan, asking, "Do you mean you are also improving, or have you been holding back?" He increasingly felt that Guan was unfathomable. Initially, he was merely grateful to Guan, but now he felt Guan was either a peerless genius or a high-level cultivator hiding his cultivation. He thought back to the years when the demon of greed caused chaos. The demon of greed had perished in Gu An's house, but to this day, no one discovered who had saved Guan. Could it be Guan himself? Guan laughed. Hey, I'm at the 9th level of the Foundation Establishment realm, about to reach core formation. Isn't it normal to beat you? Don't forget, I'm ranked 500th on the golden list. Seeing his smug expression, Chu Jingfeng couldn't help but shake his head and smile. Right, why overthink? In any case, he was now a cripple, weaker than everyone. After chatting for a while longer, Guan gripped his heavenly residence sword and descended the mountain, while Chu Jingfeng sat meditating on the cliff, reflecting on his earlier sword-fighting experiences. The next morning, the first Heavenly Strength tournament officially began. It was said that over 50,000 cultivators and demons had signed up, covering all realms. There were even mysterious Mahayana cultivators participating. Guan did not participate. Instead, he headed to Tianya Valley to harvest medicinal herbs. This year, he aimed to reach a lifespan of 7 million years. After surpassing the 10 million year mark, he could look forward to a billion-year lifespan. A billion years would bring new abilities. The next time could be 10 billion or even 100 billion years for new functions. The thought was exciting to Guan. If a billion years passed in the real world, how high would his cultivation level be? The sky was clear, and the ocean was boundless. Immortal Seeking Island sat on the ocean, small as a speck of dust, but when viewed up close, its prosperity was evident. Guan returned to Immortal Seeking Island, and exchanged all the medicinal herbs he had gathered over the past 3 years for top-grade spirit stones, then began to wander around. He planned to buy some high-quality cultivation elixirs to help Yilan and Xiaochuan. As for others, he wouldn't go out of his way to help them. Enjoying the elixirs he personally refined was good enough. Hu Xiaojian continued to lead the way for Guan, full of enthusiasm. By the way, Senior, several months ago, a conflict broke out between the Star Sea congregations and the 7 Stars Spirit Realm. Have you heard about it? Hu Xiaojian asked suddenly, his expression excited. Guan answered, I've been secluded in training, unaware of this. Why did they clash? Hu Xiaojian lowered his voice. It said that a disciple of the Star Sea congregations was killed by the 7 Stars Spirit Realm, so a group of Star Sea congregation cultivators attacked islands affiliated with the 7 Stars Spirit Realm. They fought for 3 days and nights. Many say the Star Sea congregations and 7 Stars Spirit Realm are going to war. They have been at peace for 50,000 years, who knows if it's true. If these 2 top forces go to war, this ocean will be far from peaceful. Guan first thought of Xian Tianyi. Was Xian Tianyi's capabilities so great? On second thought, yes, a Mahayana cultivator of several hundred years was rare. Even on the ocean, he would be a top-tier talent. On Immortal Seeking Island, Guan had only seen a few. The two continued chatting as they moved forward. An hour later, Guan had spent all his spirit stones, reaping abundant rewards. Spending on his junior brothers and sisters, he felt no regret, even if they were destined to die. He was willing to help them live a few hundred or 1,000 years longer. After dismissing Hu Xiaojian, Guan began to wander Immortal Seeking Island on his own. Immortal Seeking Island was large, with numerous cities. Cultivators, demons, and spirit beasts were everywhere, making the streets very lively. Suddenly, someone brushed past Guan due to the person's peculiar attire. Guan subconsciously threw a lifespan detection. 9-Finger Divine Lord, second layer of Traveling Immortal Realm 170800/190000/800000. 17,000 years? Was this 80,000-year maximum lifespan serious? Guan was intrigued. The person's apparent cultivation was only at the Mahayana realm. Even as a 9th-level heaven and earth flying immortal realm great cultivator, Guan couldn't see through his true cultivation level, indicating this man's greatness. Of course, it was also possible that this person was not a wandering immortal, but had his cultivation level fall due to some reason. Guan thought the latter was more likely. He didn't turn back and continued forward. However, the 9-Finger Divine Lord stopped. He wore a black outfit like a wanderer. His clothes were not fancy, somewhat old, with a bamboo hat and a large wooden box on his back. He looked back, frowning under his hat, eyes filled with confusion. Was it a misperception? The nine-fingered divine lord felt someone watching him earlier but saw no one when he looked back. The strongest on this street was just a loose immortal. He retracted his gaze and continued on his way. 30 minutes later, he arrived at a residence and met a man in a purple robe in the courtyard. "Senior, please have a seat," the purple-robed man said with a smile, respectfully. The nine-fingered divine lord sat down, placing the large wooden box beside him. He calmly asked, "What business do you have with me?" The purple-robed man sat, waved his right hand, and a purple light barrier rose around the courtyard, then quickly disappeared. He looked at the nine-fingered divine lord and whispered, "Senior, I have a lead on the immortal path supreme treasure you sought before. It is somewhat troublesome. It involves the 7 stars spirit realm. Do you dare to venture there?" Chapter 2:12 Strange Aura. After brushing past the nine-fingered divine lord, Guan quickly left Immortal-Seeking Island. Although the nine-fingered divine lord couldn't threaten him at the moment, his age of 170,000 years made Guan reluctant to associate with him. Guan had no need to make connections with great powers, he just wanted to avoid trouble. After returning to the Supreme Sect, he went to watch the first cultivation conference every few days and found it quite interesting. The Supreme Sect created different treasures according to different realms, and it was said that the materials were brought from overseas by Xiantiani. The heaviest was a Mahayana realm treasure, heavier than a mountain. Because of this, the Supreme Sect also specially opened a venue and set up layers of restrictions to prevent the ground from collapsing. Since there was no combat, the first cultivation conference didn't last as long as previous events. In less than half a month, Qiao Dai won the first place and was conferred the title of Great Sage of the Heavenly Peak by the Supreme Sect. Afterwards, Qiao Dai announced his decision to join the Supreme Sect and become an elder, which took Guan by surprise. What is the 7 star spirit realm up to? Sending a Mahayana realm cultivator to the Supreme Sect for no reason? Or are they planting a pawn? Guan didn't ask LV Badian. Even if Qiao Dai had bad intentions, he wasn't afraid. It only took one move to kill the Divine Soul True Lord, and it would be the same for Qiao Dai. However, after autumn arrived, Ji Hantian brought Qiao Dai to find Guan, who happened to be in, so he received them in his building. Qiao Dai sat at the table, looked around the environment, and asked, "Are you Panan?" Guan, carrying a cup of tea to the table, responded, "I am Panan. May I ask what business you have with me, senior?" The Ji family had switched allegiance to the 7 stars spirit realm, and now Ji Hantian brought Qiao Dai to find him, which made him think deeply. "Sit down and talk," Ji Hantian said with a warm smile, even taking the initiative to pour tea for the two of them. Guan sat down and looked at Qiao Dai. Qiao Dai scrutinized him with an oppressive gaze. "What do you think of the Holy Land, 7 stars spirit realm?" Qiao Dai asked. Guan was stunned and replied, "The 7 stars spirit realm is called a holy land. Naturally, I respect it." "Why do you ask me this?" Qiao Dai said, "Is Master Beauty from the Oblique Moon 3 stars cave in your writing meant to pay homage to the 7 stars spirit realm?" Master Beauty was the teacher of Sun Wukong, the protagonist of Journey to the West. Ever since Journey to the West became a hit, Master Beauty was often mentioned. Some even firmly believed that the Oblique Moon 3 stars cave, the spirit platform, and Square Inch Hill truly existed. Guan nodded. Since the Ji family had turned to the 7 stars spirit realm, and Qiao Dai came from the 7 stars spirit realm, Guan naturally had to go along with their thoughts. If these two still had doubts about him, he could only have sword Venerable Fudao take action. Seeing Guan nod, Qiao Dai didn't seem pleased. Instead, he frowned and said, "Actually, the 7 stars spirit realm is not as good as you think." Upon hearing this, Guan looked at him in amazement. What does this mean? Could it be that Qiao Dai harbored enmity toward the 7 stars spirit realm? Ji Hantian chimed in, "The previous great calamity of demons is related to the 7 stars spirit realm. We sought you out because we feared you esteemed the 7 stars spirit realm too much. And there are some things we need to tell you." Without waiting for Guan to respond, Ji Hantian explained the origins of the demon ancestor and evil demon, leaving Guan dumbfounded. Guan actually knew this long ago but had to act surprised while contemplating their intentions. After Ji Hantian finished, Xiao Dai said, "The actions of the 7 stars spirit realm disgust me deeply. Ever since I embarked on the immortal cultivation path, I wanted to be an immortal who saves the world. That was also why I chose to join the 7 stars spirit realm. But a friend of mine exposed the crimes of the 7 stars spirit realm. He came from the Lin family, whose ancestor was slain by sword Venerable Fudao after attacking the supreme sect. Later, during the siege of the evil demon, the Lin family suffered heavy losses. Taking advantage of this, their adversaries within the 7 stars spirit realm sought to exterminate them. Before fleeing, my friend left me a letter exposing the general misdeeds committed by the high-ups of the 6 stars cave against the Lin family. It took me years to fully accept these facts." Guan felt a sigh of lament at hearing that the Lin family had been abandoned by the 7 stars spirit realm. Of course, the Lin family's annihilation was not undeserved, just infighting among dogs. Guan furrowed his brow and said, "I am merely a minor cultivator in the Foundation establishment realm. Why are you telling me this? I cannot help you. Don't think of using Pan-An's name to expose the Holy Land. I cannot afford to provoke them." Ji Hantian smiled, "Rest assured, we are not that reckless. The 7 stars spirit realm is currently too powerful, and even the combined forces of the 3 dynasties can't shake it. We just hope you won't exalt the 7 stars spirit realm in your books in the future." Xiao Dai nodded and said, "Exactly. Your influence is truly great. I used to disdain it until I read your Investiture of the Gods and Journey to the West, only then realizing your prowess. However, I liked your Supreme Immortal Venerable the most. The story of a comeback is more captivating. So that's what it's about." Guan found it both laughable and exasperating. It was just a coincidence. In fact, he was subtly hinting that the 7 stars spirit realm resembled the Buddhism sect of Western Heaven. He pretended to contemplate and then reluctantly agreed to the matter. Seeing Guan seemingly hesitant, Ji Hantian and Xiao Dai didn't get angry. They too took a long time to process this information when they first learned about it. Not only did they have to expose the evil side of the 7 stars spirit realm, but they also had to endure the pressure of confronting it directly. This was, after all, the most powerful force on the continent, with no equal. Guan couldn't help but ask, if the 7 stars spirit realm wishes to enslave all beings, why engage in such roundabout methods? Even the combined forces of our 3 dynasties are no match for them, right? Xiao Dai replied, "Not all of the 7 stars spirit realm is evil. On the ocean, it remains a holy land of the righteous path. Our continent is merely one region of the 7 stars spirit realm, governed by the 6 stars cave and 7 stars cave. Over the past tens of thousands of years, the high-ups of the 6 stars cave sought extreme ways to break through the heavenly destiny, deceiving superiors and subordinates, leading to these consequences. In the unseen world, there exists chi fortune and incense. If the beings of the continent detest the 7 stars spirit realm, the other star caves would surely notice. If the beings are exterminated, it would also attract the attention of surrounding forces. Fire can't be wrapped in paper, and most cultivators within the 7 stars spirit realm are unaware of this, considering themselves disciples of the righteous path. Once again, it was the parasites within the righteous path committing atrocities, but the parasites of the 7 stars spirit realm were in existence that the beings of the continent couldn't contend with. Guan feigned a sudden realization, then asked a few more questions, even mentioning the ephemera sect. The reason the ephemera sect managed to come through the 9 Nether Road was due to the connection between its hierarch, Butcher Immortal Jing, and an elder in the 6 stars cave. The interwoven interests between the two were immeasurable. It seemed like they were allowing the ephemera sect to wreak havoc, but in reality, that elder wanted to devour the essence of the origin tree of ephemera. Once the 3 dynasties' cultivators sacrificed to the origin tree, the elder would strike, not only reaping benefits but also gaining a good reputation. The continent where the ephemera sect resided was also a subsidiary of the 7 stars spirit realm, extremely distant from here, so far that the cultivators of the ephemera sect had to rely on the 9 Nether Road. Without Mahayana realm cultivation, they would surely die en route through the ocean. The three continued their conversation for an hour. Before leaving, Ji Hantian urged Guan not to spread this matter. With the current strength of the supreme sect, it was completely inadequate to contend against the Seven Stars spirit realm, so they had to endure. Guan rose to see them off. Watching Ji Hantian's departing figure, he very much wanted to ask about the Ji family's true stance towards the Seven Stars spirit realm. Currently, there were very few members of the Ji family in the supreme sect, practically just Ji Hantian's lineage. Speaking of which, when the evil demon broke free, Ji Xiaoyu gave Guan a jade pendant to temporarily keep. It recorded the crimes of the Seven Stars spirit realm, and after so many years, Ji Xiaoyu had yet to come to reclaim it. Using his divine sense, he noticed Ji Xiaoyu heading towards the Tianwei dynasty, moving towards the Eastern Ocean. What was this? Running away from marriage? Ji Hantian and Xiao Dai's visit did not affect Gu An's life. In the following days, he visited the outer gate city more and more frequently. During the winter season, with heavy snow falling. In front of the law enforcement hall's gate in the outer gate city, Guan and Yilan stood before a statue. After taking the elixirs from Guan, Yilan said helplessly, "This is too much. Senior brother, don't you cultivate? Are you spending all day making elixirs for me?" Guan patted the snow off her shoulder and laughed softly, "Don't worry. What I gave you is only a small part, the majority I consumed myself. How could you be more important in my heart than myself?" Yilan glared at him but felt deeply moved inside. She wasn't foolish. Guan had definitely given her all the elixirs just to help her achieve the primordial reincarnation skill. She was puzzled. She felt her body was still good, able to live for another 200 years. Why was her senior brother so insistent on her achieving it in the next 20 years? Did her senior brother think she could only live for 120 or 30 years? She didn't ask much as she chose to trust her senior brother. The two started talking about Chin. For a long time. Guan bid farewell to Yilan and turned to leave. Watching him walk into the heavy snow, Yilan felt an inexplicable sense of loss. This feeling was strange. She felt she and her senior brother were growing further apart. After leaving the law enforcement hall, Guan began wandering the streets. Although the winter snow was heavy, some streets remained bustling. Arriving in the busy market area, a young disciple approached him and whispered, "The long-lost Supreme Secret Records, want to buy? The kind with illustrations." Guan gave him a look of disdain, bypassed him, and continued on his way. The young disciple persisted. After a dozen steps of entanglement, he finally gave up. So hypocritical. "I spit on you." The young disciple cursed at Gu An's back. As he walked, Guan unknowingly arrived near the book collection hall and suddenly noticed someone reading a book under an old tree beside the hall's courtyard wall. Reading Journey to the West, no less. Guan walked past and curiously asked, "Brother, why don't you read inside? There are seats in there." Foundation establishment realm, just average. Even his appearance was average. But Guan felt something off about his aura, so he used lifespan detection. Yu Yingying, Foundation Establishment Realm, 8th floor 124/400/5000, Maximum lifespan of 5,000 years? Why is the cultivation level so low? And the name is a woman's? Doesn't seem like she's disguised as a man. Yu Yingying looked up at Guan and replied, "It's too noisy inside. It's more peaceful here, and I can feel the nature." Then she suddenly scrutinized Guan, hesitated, and asked, "Are you Guan?" Chapter 213 Divine Monarch arrives. Great opportunity. Hearing Yu Yingying's inquiry, Guan hesitated for a moment and asked, "I am. Do you know me, Taoist friend?" Yu Yingying's eyes lit up and she said, "My name is Yu Yingying. Senior brother Xian recommended that I come to find you. I was originally going directly to your Medicine Valley but couldn't resist coming to see Journey to the West first." "Senior brother Xian Tianyi?" "That's right. We are from the same sect in the Star Sea congregations. You might not know about the Star Sea congregations. They are a great sect overseas. She started introducing the Star Sea congregations, and Guan listened attentively, pondering why Xiantianyi had sent her. Guan became increasingly certain that Yu Yingying was indeed a woman, merely using some miracle technique to make her aura and appearance resemble that of a man. Such means were truly impressive. Without using divine sense to probe her, she could deceive someone at the 9th level of the heaven and earth flying immortal realm like Guan. How could it not be impressive? However, since she came from the Star Sea congregations, it made sense. The Star Sea congregations had a long history and had certainly produced heaven and earth flying immortals, possessing miracle techniques and divine skills that could deceive the senses of such beings. It wasn't unusual. Yu Yingying greatly admired Gu An's investiture of the gods and journey to the west, so her words were filled with praise. For a long time. Guan asked, Daoist friend, you didn't come just to find me, did you? Coming all the way from overseas just for 2 books? He didn't believe it. Yu Yingying surely had other motives. Yu Yingying nodded and said, to be honest, senior brother recommended me to sit at the Supreme Sect. But fearing I would be bored, he suggested I come to see you. I am indeed very interested in your books. To sit? Guan became even more curious. Yu Yingying said, senior brother fears that the 7 stars spirit realm might attack the Supreme Sect. With me around, they would at least not dare to act rashly. So impressive? This Foundation Establishment Realm's 6th layer cultivator seemed to have a significant background. What background could intimidate the 6 stars cave? Guan pondered while inquiring further, but Yu Yingying didn't want to say more. Later, Guan invited her to the 3rd Medicine Valley, but she refused politely, saying she had already rented a residence in the outer sect and would visit him if she felt bored. Guan was just being polite. Since she refused, he naturally wouldn't insist. Yu Yingying suddenly waved her sleeve, transforming into a slender woman in blue clothes, with fair skin and a beautiful face. Her eyes carried a playful and mischievous spirit. Her long hair reached her calves, the ends tied with a red scarf. Guan wasn't too stunned. Yu Yingying was indeed beautiful, but the most beautiful ones he had seen were Tian Yaoer and Ji Xiaoyu. The 2 women were equally matched in appearance, with different temperaments, making it hard to judge. Remember, this is my true appearance. Yu Yingying winked at Guan, then waved her sleeve again, turning back into the ordinary male image from before. Guan feigned a shocked expression, greatly satisfying Yu Yingying's vanity. After leaving her residence address, she turned and left. After she had gone far, Guan finally smiled. Hopefully, this woman could truly become the trump card of the Supreme Sect. 5 years swiftly passed by. During these 5 years, the Supreme Sect encountered no major troubles and developed steadily. Gu An's life continued as usual, moving between different medicine valleys and visiting the immortal-seeking island about once a year. He also successfully formed a core and officially became a core formation realm disciple, causing quite a stir in the 3rd Medicine Valley. In the evening, Guan rode on the Blood Prison Great Saint back to Mystic Valley. He spoke, from today onwards, your cultivation level will be at the 2nd layer. As he finished speaking, he released a bit of the returning primordial spirit path from within the Blood Prison Great Saint, restoring its cultivation level to the 2nd layer, akin to the Foundation Establishment realm. The Blood Prison Great Saint felt the spiritual power within its body surge, filled with excitement. It wanted to let out a loud roar but restrained itself. Thank you, Master, the Blood Prison Great Saint said respectfully, its voice somewhat hoarse. It had been holding back for too long. Guan, sitting on its back, continued to offer instructions, which the beast listened to intently, fearing to offend Guan in the future. Once Guan finished, he placed his hand on the ox head of the Blood Prison Great Saint, imparting the primordial reincarnation skill to it. The Blood Prison Great Saint's eyes instantly turned vacant, its body halting. Guan wasn't in a hurry, beginning to admire the surrounding scenery. This was a sparse woodland located on a ridge, with views of other majestic mountains in the distance when turning one's head. Guan suddenly noticed a powerful aura approaching the Supreme Sect. Wasn't this the nine-fingered divine lord he had encountered before on the immortal-seeking island? Guan was curious. The divine lord's limit of 80,000 years of lifespan had left a deep impression on him. Why would such a powerful figure come to this backward continent? Compared to the surrounding sea areas and continents, the continent where the supreme sect was located was indeed backward, naturally due to the seven stars spirit realm. Every 10,000 years, they would instigate a major demonic calamity. How could the human race on this continent ever prosper? After the demonic calamity ended, the seven stars spirit realm was quite restrained, causing no further troubles but sending more disciples down the mountain to establish more connections with the secular world. Because of this, the seven stars spirit realm remained highly regarded in the immortal cultivation world, with many sects hoping to establish friendly relations with them. Guan silently pondered. After a long time, the blood prison great saint finally awakened, exclaiming excitedly, "What a domineering cultivation technique! Master, if I cultivate this technique for 1,000 years, can I ascend into the realm of immortal path in one leap?" It was willing to be Guan's steed for 1,000 years, with its cultivation sealed. It was perfectly suited to cultivate the primordial reincarnation skill during this time. That depends on whether you put in the effort. Guan replied with a smile. The blood prison great saint wanted to say more, but Guan patted its head, transmitting a message that someone was approaching, causing it to shut up immediately. "Let's continue on our way," Guan said. The blood prison great saint immediately resumed walking. The mountain path wasn't too steep, with the surrounding flowers and birds making the journey refreshing. Just as they exited the forest, a figure approached from ahead. It was the nine-fingered divine lord, still wearing a straw hat and looking travel-worn. He came before the blood prison great saint and asked, "May I ask if you are a disciple of the supreme sect, brother?" The blood prison great saint stopped, scrutinizing the man but unable to discern his depth. "I am Guan of the supreme sect. May I ask what brings you to our sect, Taoist friend?" Guan raised his hand in greeting, smiling as he asked. The nine-fingered divine lord had sought out Guan because he observed that among the local cultivators, Guan had the highest cultivation level, thus most likely belonged to the supreme sect. The nine-fingered divine lord looked up at Guan, feeling as if he had seen him somewhere before. However, with Guan only at the core formation realm, having encountered many with similar cultivation levels in his travels, he paid it no mind. "I am Taoist Nine-Finger, a loose cultivator wandering the world. I've heard of the supreme sect's reputation and wish to join. May I ask if you could introduce me?" Guan naturally didn't refuse, agreeing readily, and began leading the way. The blood prison great saint walked at a leisurely pace, and the nine-fingered divine lord was in no hurry, using the time to learn more about the supreme sect from Guan. He asked many questions, and Guan answered them all, his forthrightness furthering the divine lord's favorable impression of him. After a considerable time, the two grew closer. "Taoist friend, could you tell me your cultivation level so that I can decide whether to take you to the outer sect or the inner sect?" Guan asked. The nine-fingered divine lord had observed on his journey that to become a high-ranking member of the supreme sect, one needed at least an unification realm cultivation. "To be honest, I am at the 4th layer of the unification realm," Taoist Nine-Finger said hesitantly. "What? Unification realm?" Guan exclaimed, making the blood prison great saint want to roll its eyes. In the face of Guan's excitement, Taoist Nine-Finger remained calm, not relishing the sense of superiority since his real cultivation level was at the 2nd layer of the wandering immortal realm. Energy cultivation, foundation establishment, core formation, nascent soul, divinity transformation, void crossing, unification, mystic heart, Mahayana, nirvana, loose immortal, wandering immortal. Pretending to be at a lower realm, he was 4 major realms higher than Guan. In reality, he was 9 major realms higher than Guan. Along the way, Guan's curiosity grew, but his words didn't come across as obsequious, earning more respect from Taoist Nine-Finger. As evening approached, they arrived at Mystic Valley. Guan invited Taoist Nine-Finger to stay for the night, to which the latter had no objection. Upon entering Mystic Valley, a group of servant disciples greeted them warmly. Seeing these energy cultivation realm cultivators mingling closely with core formation realm Guan, the nine-fingered divine lord noticed that Guan wasn't just respectful on the surface, he was also kind and non-arrogant towards those below him. Guan tasked Lu Jiojia with arranging accommodation for Daoist Nine-Finger before retiring to his room to rest. A while later, the nine-fingered divine lord sat cross-legged on his bed, scanning the supreme sect with his divine sense. The strongest cultivator in the supreme sect was only at the Mahayana realm, posing no threat to him and offering little of interest. He even discovered the existence of the 8 scenic caves but paid it no mind. Everyone had secrets, Guan having a hidden cave was nothing notable, and the herbs within the 8 scenic caves did not attract him. Deep into the night. On the mountain top, Chu Jingfeng sat meditating, absorbing energy. What cultivation technique are you practicing? The nine-fingered divine lord's voice suddenly came, startling Chu Jingfeng, who turned to look. An hour ago, he had seen the nine-fingered divine lord, who was addressed as senior by Guan. He quickly stood up, greeting him, a technique for absorbing energy, not worth mentioning. The nine-fingered divine lord scrutinized him and said, "Your natural talents are decent. It's a pity you haven't laid a solid foundation. The technique you're practicing can improve your aptitude, but its effects are limited." Hearing this, Chu Jingfeng felt both relieved and somewhat uncomfortable. Daring to belittle the Daoist expansion skill? The nine-fingered divine lord continued, "I can help you rebuild your foundation and restore your cultivation. Will you become my named disciple?" Chu Jingfeng hesitated and asked, "May I know the senior's identity?" The nine-fingered divine lord's eyes flashed with appreciation. "I am a loose cultivator from overseas. I met your valley master. Tomorrow, I will join the supreme sect. I am an unification realm cultivator. According to your valley master, becoming an elder shouldn't be difficult." Unification realm cultivator. Chu Jingfeng was stunned. To him, unification realm cultivators were exalted, unapproachable beings. He gritted his teeth and said, "I need to discuss this with the valley master. He took me in when I was in distress. I can't just leave." "Ha ha ha, talk to him tomorrow then." The nine-fingered divine lord laughed, then turned and left. This foolish boy didn't realize he had encountered a great fortune. Chapter 214 Immortal Path Supreme Treasure. The next morning, Nine-Fingered Divine Lord brought Chu Jingfeng to find Guan and expressed his intention to take him as a disciple. Guan was pleasantly surprised and hastily had Chu Jingfeng express his gratitude to Nine-Fingered Divine Lord. This gesture deeply moved Chu Jingfeng. Upon hearing that Nine-Fingered Divine Lord could help him restore his cultivation level, he felt tempted. However, given all that Guan had done for him over the years, he felt torn and unsure of how to decide. Nine-Fingered Divine Lord also held Guan in higher regard. He could see that Guan was genuinely happy for Chu Jingfeng. This was indeed true. Although Guan was powerful, in terms of knowledge and experience, he certainly couldn't match the 17,000-year-old Nine-Fingered Divine Lord. If the Divine Lord sincerely cared for Chu Jingfeng, it would be a turning point in Chu Jingfeng's life. Subsequently, Guan directly instructed Chu Jingfeng to acknowledge Nine-Fingered Divine Lord as his master, making the atmosphere very harmonious. An hour later, they used the teleportation array to reach the Third Medicine Valley and then flew to the inner sect city. Nine-Fingered Divine Lord had long known of the Third Medicine Valley but had not expected it to belong to Guan as well. It wasn't until noon that Guan returned alone to the Third Medicine Valley, while Nine-Fingered Divine Lord and Chu Jingfeng prepared to stay in the inner sect city. Though the true intentions of Nine-Fingered Divine Lord remained unclear, the addition of a wandering immortal was a good thing for the supreme sect. If Nine-Fingered Divine Lord caused trouble, Guan could always intervene. Is the fortune of the supreme sect rising? Guan sat in his chair, silently pondering. First, Xian Tianyi summoned Yu Yingying of the Star Sea congregations. Then Xiao Dai of the Seven Stars Spirit Realm came to surrender, and now a mysterious wandering immortal had arrived. This fortune made Guan marvel. he didn't overthink it and began to practice alchemy. In the dead of night, Guan arrived at Heavenly Phoenix Mountain. He first visited his own grotto heaven and then made his way along the tunnel to Nianshu Cave. The two cat demons had grown up. Though they had not yet shape-shifted, they now appeared as large as leopards, lying prone on the ground, seemingly napping but actually absorbing nature's spiritual energy. Tian Yaoer heard Guan's footsteps and immediately stepped out of the house, appearing before Guan as if teleporting. She was about to throw herself into his arms when he pressed her forehead with his finger, stopping her from moving forward. "You are a bit slow, not fast enough." Guan was referring to Tian Yaoer's limitless freedom step. Tian Yaoer pouted and asked, "Master, did you go to your grotto heaven first?" "Yes," Guan responded, then walked past her. The medicinal herbs in the grotto heaven were all at least 7th rank, taking much longer to mature compared to low-rank medical herbs, so he couldn't harvest them yet. However, once he could harvest them, he would surely gain a large amount of lifespan at once. Even without relying on the grotto heaven, Guan could now accrue nearly 300,000 years of lifespan each year. Tian Yaoer caught up and curiously asked, "Master, when will we move in there?" The grotto heaven was much more spacious, while Nianshu Cave felt too stifling. "You can go in any time you want, just don't forget about Nianshu Cave," Guan replied. A look of disappointment flashed in Tian Yaoer's eyes. She had hoped to live with Guan, thinking he was planning to move in because of the many high-rank medical herbs planted there. She didn't press the matter but instead started talking about recent events. The previous night, a great demon had fought in Heavenly Phoenix Mountain, causing a huge commotion that made her very nervous, fearing a demon might break into Nianshu Cave. Their conversation continued leisurely. Soon, Tian Qing and Tian Bai were awakened by their chatter. Seeing Guan, the two cat demons grew delighted and immediately rushed over. "Master! Master, you finally came." The two cat demons' voices sounded sweet, like two young girls coyly addressing Guan. Guan almost got goosebumps. He felt that Tian Yaoer had spoiled these two cat demons. They sat down at the stone table, and Tian Yaoer brought out some fine wine, saying, "Master, do you have more of Journey to the West? I just read the part where Sun Wukong fights the white bone demon. Monk Tang is really frustrating." Guan took out the latest scroll from his storage bag and placed it on the table. He joked, "Why, didn't you side with the demons? Sun Wukong is also a demon. I support him. Monk Tang may save demons, but he's so oblivious." "Master, do humans have a legend about seeking scriptures?" Tian Yaoer asked indignantly. "No, it's just a story I made up." "Really? It feels so real. When you become a great demon, you can also rule Heavenly Phoenix Mountain." "Hee, that's what I thought too. When the time comes, I'll call myself the beautiful Phoenix King and form the 7 great saints." Talking about such things excited Tian Yaoer. She chattered on enthusiastically. Guan found it amusing. Indeed, boasting needed no teaching, it came naturally with imagination. As they chatted, Guan sensed a vast aura from a distance. His divine sense instinctively followed, but the aura quickly vanished. Guan speculated it might have come from a minor heaven and earth realm. Thinking of such vastness, he first considered the 7 stars spirit realm. Only the minor heaven and earth realm of the 7 stars spirit realm could be so well hidden. Of course, Guan's divine sense could locate the minor heaven and earth realm of the 7 stars spirit realm, but the restrictions there were highly advanced. Sneaking in unnoticed was beyond his capability. If he forced his way in, it would certainly alert the cultivators of the 7 stars spirit realm. Are they up to something again? Guan pondered as he dealt with Tian Yaoer. With the passage of summer into autumn, the weather remained hot. At noon, Guan rode the Blood Prison Great Saint to the outer gate city. There, he overheard cultivators talking about a recent event. An immortal path supreme treasure. Did you hear? There are signs of an immortal path supreme treasure in the demon land. What's an immortal path supreme treasure? I don't know either. I heard it's an immortal's magic artifact. Possessing it grants the power of an immortal. I heard about it too, but no one knows the exact location yet. Is this immortal path supreme treasure more powerful than the heaven-cutting axe? Guan listened silently, but the blood prison great saint, unable to contain his curiosity, asked, Master, is there really such an immortal path supreme treasure? Guan did not answer but looked ahead. Yu Yingying approached, hands behind her back, her face beaming with a smile. It's true. Want to know more? She asked. The blood prison great saint nodded, eagerly looking at her. However, Yu Yingying rolled her eyes at him and then looked at Guan. Guan smiled and said, Of course, I'm also interested. Come to my residence, I have something to discuss with you, Yu Yingying said, turning to leave. Guan patted the great saint, signaling him to follow. After 30 minutes, they were sitting in a courtyard. Yu Yingying and Guan sat across from each other at a stone table. She began to introduce the immortal path supreme treasures. The world has magic artifacts, dharma treasures, and immortal treasures. Immortal treasures are magic artifacts crafted at the immortal path realm, only wielded by an immortal's mana. But an immortal path supreme treasure is crafted by the mightiest of the immortal path, each imbued with an immortal spirit. These supreme treasures not only contain immense power but also remain unaffected by the passage of time. The beings who crafted them either left the mortal world or have passed away, but the treasures endure. The Star Sea congregations possess one such supreme treasure, the Star Sea Primordial Unity Banner, which is their church treasure. The Holy Land, the Seven Stars Spirit Realm, also has an immortal path supreme treasure, the Seven Stars Mirror, which is likewise their church treasure. Recently, it is said that the Seven Stars Spirit Realm discovered another fake immortal treasure, and the entire ocean is competing for it. I hadn't expected the news to spread so widely that even the low-level cultivators of the Supreme Sect would hear of it. Guan, curious, asked, What is a fake immortal treasure? Yu Yingying explained, It is a damaged immortal path supreme treasure where the immortal spirit is dormant. Though still possessing great power, it pales in comparison to a complete supreme treasure. Guan suddenly suspected that Nine-Finger Divine Lord had come to the Supreme Sect for this fake immortal treasure. Normally not engaged in combat, Guan wasn't particularly interested in immortal path supreme treasures. He placed more trust in his own mana. Yu Yingying continued to describe other immortal path supreme treasures, each a legendary artifact, claiming that those who obtained them could achieve the immortal path, boasting extravagantly. The blood prison great saint lay nearby, listening intently with a look of longing in his eyes. As Guan listened, he spread his divine sense over the continent, noticing that from all directions, cultivators and demons were arriving from overseas, including several beings at the immortal path realm. He identified 3 wandering immortals and over a dozen nirvana realm beings making their way here. Within the continent, he detected the presence of more than 20 wandering immortals, spread out in different areas, all seeking immortal path supreme treasures. Some were even near the minor heaven and earth realm of the Seven Stars Spirit Realm, plotting how to infiltrate. Notably, Guan saw that Anhao, Liya, and Zhang Buku were also roaming the demon clan's territory. Anhao was fighting a great demon of the divinity transformation realm alone. After talking about immortal path supreme treasures, let's discuss Journey to the West, shall we? Yu Yingying suddenly said, her eyes glowing as she looked at Guan. She usually loved reading all kinds of miscellaneous books, especially stories, which was why she got along well with Xiantiani. Ever since Xiantiani gave her investiture of the gods, she had been fascinated by Pan. What do you want to discuss? Guan asked. Yu Yingying immediately asked a series of questions, such as whether investiture of the gods and Journey to the West were connected, how many years apart they were, and on which continent the stories took place. She was even curious about how Guan came up with these 2 remarkable books. Guan answered her questions one by one. As for the source of his inspiration, he mentioned meeting 2 Taoists before, one named Su Zhonglin, who told him the story of investiture of the gods, and another named Wu Qinzhen, who told him the story of Journey to the West. Yu Yingying did not doubt him and became even more curious about these 2 Taoists. She believed that with Gu An's cultivation level, he did not seem to possess such extensive knowledge but simply had literary talent. The blood prison great saint listened curiously. He knew Guan wrote books but did not know the details. Only when Yu Yingying mentioned the bull demon king did he become interested. Guan had given him the name of the bull demon king. Had his master written a book for him? Who was Sun Wukong? Could it be the monkey in Tianya Valley? Thinking of those 3 monkeys, the blood prison great saint felt angry. Those 3 always stealthily pulled his fur, and he couldn't catch them. 2 hours passed like this. Yu Yingying brought tea and snacks, indicating she had no intention of letting Guan leave. In the few years since arriving at the Supreme Sect, she hadn't sought out Guan because she was busy reading. She had read through all the books in the book collection hall, a determination that impressed even Guan. At that moment, a high-pitched dragon's roar echoed from the sky. Yu Yingying's face changed, and she murmured, "Dragon-slaying spear Qi Zhouxiao." Chapter 215, 700,000 years lifespan limit. Dragon-slaying spear Qi Zhouxiao? Dragon-slaying? How arrogant. The blood prison great saint heard Yu Yingying's words and couldn't help but show a curious expression. He looked up to the south and saw a golden glow appearing in the sky, becoming more and more spectacular, as if the sky was changing color. Guan also turned his head to look. In fact, he had already seen the figure of the approaching person. Nirvana realm 9 layers. The golden light gradually enveloped the sky above the Supreme Sect. More and more people flew up, looking into the distance. Dragon roars echoed continuously, growing louder, indicating that the person was getting closer. Soon, a 1,000-foot-long 5-clawed golden dragon flew from the horizon. Its majestic and imposing figure shook the outer gate city. Guan saw that in the dragon's head was a long spear, entirely golden, with a golden dragon coiled around the shaft, its mouth spitting out the spear blade, exuding dominance. That was a very extraordinary Dharma treasure. Perhaps it was the immortal treasure that Yu Yingying mentioned. This golden dragon was condensed from the immortal treasure and was not a true dragon. Standing on the dragon's head was a man wearing a gold-patterned white robe, a red belt around his waist. His shoulders were broad, his posture upright, his aura couldn't be concealed. His face was handsome, his long hair coiled under a crown, with 2 strands of black hair hanging in front of his ears, fluttering in the wind. Qi Zhouxiao stood high above, looking down at the Supreme Sect, a smirk on his lips, and his gaze arrogant. Guan's gaze locked onto him, throwing a lifespan detection at him. Qi Zhouxiao, Nirvana Realm 9 Layers 998/25,000/7000000, 700,000 years of ultimate lifespan. Very exaggerated. This guy wasn't even 1,000 years old yet, and was already in the Nirvana Realm 9 Layers? No wonder he was so proud. Who is this person? The blood prison great saint couldn't help but ask. He could feel that the other party was definitely above the Mahayana realm. Yu Yingying looked up at the sky and said softly, "He is a disciple of the Star Sea congregations, with top-notch talent." At the age of 500, he stepped into the realm of immortal path. The golden dragon he rides is transformed from the dragon-slaying spear, which is an immortal treasure refined by an ancient immortal. Although it is not as great as the supreme treasure of the immortal path, with this spear, even a loose immortal would find it difficult to kill him. Qi Zhouxiao, standing high above, looked down and saw Yu Yingying through the sky. He slightly raised an eyebrow and suddenly leaped down. The city protection array of the outer gate city was instantly disturbed, but it was broken as soon as it appeared, with no resistance whatsoever. He fell like swift thunder, landing in the courtyard of Yu Yingying's residence, startling the blood prison great saint to his feet, as did Guan. Qi Zhouxiao ignored him and Guan, his eyes fixed on Yu Yingying, and he laughed. "Little girl, what are you doing here?" "Little girl? How did your master teach you to speak?" "Huh, so this is the supreme sect that Xiantianyi comes from?" Really weak. I heard he wants to deal with the 7 stars spirit realm. Your master is running around making connections, but the higher-ups are unmoved." Qi Zhouxiao laughed softly. Seeing Yu Yingying frown, he continued, how about I go and probe the depths of the 7-star spirit realm for you? Yu Yingying looked at him and snorted, with your cultivation level, don't die at the 7-star spirit realm. Ha ha ha. Then watch me seize the supreme treasure of the immortal path. With that, Qi Jiuxiao leaped into the air, the golden dragon in the sky transforming into a streak of golden light, flying across the sky and disappearing without a trace. From beginning to end, Qi Jiuxiao didn't even glance at Guan. Yu Yingying snorted coldly, that guy is truly arrogant, sooner or later he will suffer a big loss. Guan sat down again and curiously asked, what is your relationship? Just fellow disciples, we're not on the same path. Yu Yingying shook her head, obviously not wanting to say much about herself. A Foundation Establishment Realm 8th floor saying she's not on the same path as a Nirvana Realm 9 layers? Though correct, it felt a bit awkward. Guan felt more and more that Yu Yingying was not simple, no wonder Xian Tianyi invited her to the Supreme Sect. He looked at the cause and effect around Yu Yingying, probing her past 20 years. However, he only saw various scenes of Yu Yingying throwing tantrums and being domineering, with Xian Tianyi pleasing her. Letting him stir things up is good, your Supreme Sect is dissatisfied with the 7-star spirit realm anyway. Yu Yingying continued. Guan remained silent, not responding. Yu Yingying could see that he didn't want to cause trouble. Xian Tianyi had mentioned this before. Let's continue talking about Journey to the West, Yu Yingying laughed. At this moment, the entire Supreme Sect was in an uproar, all disciples discussing Qi Jiuxiao. In a mansion in the main city of the sect, Qiao Dai stood on the eaves, frowning. Dragon-slaying spear, why is he here? Could it be that the 7-star spirit realm really has the supreme treasure of the immortal path? But why bring the supreme treasure to this continent? Qiao Dai was filled with confusion. He felt it was not a coincidence, the 7-star spirit realm must have a plan. Qi Jiuxiao's appearance marked the beginning of the competition for the supreme treasure of the immortal path. In the days that followed, powerful presences occasionally swept past the Supreme Sect, and divine senses occasionally scanned the Supreme Sect. This made the atmosphere within the Supreme Sect tense, fearing they would suffer in the crossfire. 5 days later, LV Badian came to find Guan. The two hid in a room to talk. After setting up a restriction, LV Badian couldn't help but sigh. Lately, many great cultivators from overseas are arriving. The peace of this continent is about to be broken. He felt very aggrieved. Those overseas great cultivators freely probed the Supreme Sect without greeting, completely ignoring them. The most crucial part was that the Supreme Sect had to endure it. Not only the Supreme Sect, but the 3 dynasties and all sects felt this way. After surviving the demon calamity, all sects were eager to grow stronger. But in just a few years, so many beings at the immortal path realm appeared, making them feel like weeds. Before the demon calamity, I lived for hundreds of years without seeing a Mahayana realm cultivator, let alone those at the immortal path realm. Now, how come there are more and more? LV Badian said troubledly. Guan comforted him, it's okay, for now, no one is endangering the Supreme Sect. Their target should be that so-called supreme treasure of the immortal path. LV Badian nodded, I just wanted to vent to you. Now the Hall of Elders is on high alert, fearing another calamity may break out. Boom, a deafening roar came from afar, startling LV Badian, cutting off his words. Gu An's divine sense swept out, seeing Qi Jiuxiao fighting a Nirvana realm great cultivator far beyond Heavenly Phoenix Mountain. That person should be from the 7-star spirit realm. His aura did not come from overseas but seemed to have suddenly appeared. Qi Jiuxiao was indeed strong, completely suppressing the opponent. Guan sensed a loose immortal aura approaching the battlefield, also emerging from the minor heaven and earth of the 7-star spirit realm. I need to go back. LV Badian stood up and then disappeared from the room. Guan also stood up, walked downstairs, and saw disciples gathering. The previous noise had scared them, and they couldn't help but be afraid. Lu Lingjun also walked out from inside. She and the Blood Prison Great Saint looked in the same direction. After a while, Lu Lingjun withdrew her gaze and looked at the Blood Prison Great Saint. Why did it seem like the Blood Prison Great Saint was also looking in her direction? The Blood Prison Great Saint felt her gaze and couldn't help but glare at her. Stupid bull. Lu Lingjun shook her head and smiled, then walked towards Guan. The Blood Prison Great Saint couldn't help but curse, "You're the stupid one." Lu Lingjun glanced at him, a terrifying murderous intent locking onto him, making his bull body stiffen. Guan also gave the Blood Prison Great Saint a look, forcing him to lower his head. The Blood Prison Great Saint felt extremely aggrieved. A dignified Mahayana realm cultivator, humiliated by a mystic heart realm cultivator, unable to retort. He now really hated Lu Lingjun. Thousands of years later, I definitely won't join your Ascension sect, and I'll even steal your people. Lu Lingjun smiled with satisfaction, then came to Guan. Why do you argue with him? Guan pretended to complain. Upset? I apologize to you, how would I know he has such a bad temper? Usually, she was in seclusion, unaware of what the Blood Prison Great Saint had gone through. Never mind, treat him better in the future. After all, he's my mount. Guan shook his head, making the Blood Prison Great Saint feel very touched. Lu Lingjun laughed, this bull is too weak. If you want a mount, I can get you a stronger one. The Blood Prison Great Saint's anger flared up again. Guan feared he would die of anger, so he pulled Lu Lingjun to an isolated place. Lu Lingjun sought him out of curiosity about recent events. Guan didn't hide anything and told her about the rumors of the supreme treasure of the immortal path. Lu Lingjun became interested and flew north directly. Really reckless. Are all ascenders like this? Guan felt helpless. His divine sense locked onto Qi Jiuxiao. This guy was already facing a loose immortal. The loose immortal seemed to be the master of the Nirvana realm cultivator, continually warning Qi Jiuxiao. But Qi Jiuxiao was extremely arrogant, soon starting a fight after a few words. One had to admit that the dragon-slaying spear in Qi Jiuxiao's hand was indeed powerful, capable of both offense and defense, preventing the loose immortal from defeating him in a short time. Of course, Guan could see that the loose immortal was very cautious of Qi Jiuxiao, not dealing a deadly blow. Before long, Qi Jiuxiao was still defeated and had to retreat. The immortal treasure could only protect him from death but couldn't help him kill a loose immortal realm great cultivator. After the battle ended, Guan retracted his divine sense and turned back to the house. In the middle of the night, and Hao walked through the woods, holding a map. He had obtained it by chance, and it was said to record the cave of an ancient great cultivator. As he walked, he suddenly sensed something, quickly putting away the map, warily looking around, and a long sword appeared in his hand. Footsteps came from the darkness. He looked closely and saw a man approaching. It was Qi Jiuxiao. And Hao did not recognize Qi Jiuxiao but could sense that the other was very strong. Qi Jiuxiao's face was very bad. He looked at Hao and asked, "Hey, what's your name? Which sect or school are you from?" Hao frowned, "My name is Hao, from the Supreme Sect." Qi Jiuxiao said, "The Supreme Sect? There's a connection. One of my junior sisters is in the Supreme Sect." In light of this connection, give me the 8th rank heavenly material and earthly treasure from your storage bag for my healing, and I won't treat you unfairly. Hearing this, Hao's face changed drastically. How did the other K? Chapter 216, Soaring Dragon 9 Transformations, Divine Exotic City. Qi Jiuxiao noticed Hao's tension, so he raised his hand, took out a scroll, and threw it to Hao. Hao instinctively caught it, then heard Qi Jiuxiao say, "Take a look, this is a divine skill I accidentally obtained." After saying that, Qi Jiuxiao sat down cross-legged and began to cultivate energy to heal his wounds. Hao hesitated for a moment before he delved his divine sense into the scroll. After a while, Hao's face changed dramatically, and the hand holding the scroll trembled. He withdrew his divine sense, then took out an 8th rank heaven and earth treasure from his storage bag, a bright red spirit flower, and presented it to Qi Jiuxiao. Qi Jiuxiao beckoned with his hand, and the 8th rank spirit flower flew into his hand. He stood up, took out a medicine cauldron that was about a zhang tall, tossed the spirit flower into it, and then added numerous medicinal herbs. After lighting the fire, he took out a small bottle and poured water into the cauldron. The small bottle seemed to contain an otherworldly space and never ran dry. When the cauldron was filled with water, Qi Jiuxiao sealed the bottle and put it back into his storage Dharma artifact. He looked at Enhao and said, "You can leave now." With that, he leaped into the air and landed inside the medicine cauldron. Enhao hesitated for a moment but did not leave. Instead, he sat down under a nearby tree and began to comprehend the divine skill given by Qi Jiuxiao. Soaring Dragon 9 transformations. Just by looking at the description of the divine skill within the scroll, Enhao couldn't help but feel his blood boil. Thus, day after day passed. 7 days later, Qi Jiuxiao leaped out from the medicine cauldron. When he landed on the ground, his wet robes quickly dried, and wisps of white smoke coiled around his body. He shrank the medicine cauldron to a small size, stored it in his hand, and then emptied it, using his mana to clean out the residue. At the same time, he looked into the distance. Through the gaps in the leaves, he saw an azure dragon tumbling in the sky beyond the forest. This kid's comprehension is extraordinary. Qi Jiuxiao was secretly astonished. In just a few days, Enhao had managed to master the divine skill. Such talent was rare even in the Star Sea congregations. After putting away the medicine cauldron, he disappeared without a trace in the forest. The next second, he appeared in the sky, blocking the azure dragon. The azure dragon, which Enhao had transformed into, was 3 zhang long, not very large, but full of imposing presence. Upon seeing Qi Jiuxiao, the azure dragon shook and transformed back into Enhao, who excitedly said, "This divine skill is amazing. After transforming, I feel like a true dragon, and my speed has increased significantly." Qi Jiuxiao said proudly, "Of course, I am Qi Jiuxiao of the dragon-slaying spear. How could I deceive you, kid? The value of this divine skill far exceeds the 8th rank heaven and earth treasure. You should thank me." Upon hearing this, Enhao immediately bowed and thanked Qi Jiuxiao. Qi Jiuxiao's face was full of smiles, though he felt a bit jealous inside. He had originally thought that even if he passed the Soaring Dragon 9 transformations to Enhao wouldn't be able to learn it, making himself appear generous without any loss. Who would have thought? Qi Jiuxiao sized up Enhao and said, "Kid, why don't you join the Star Sea congregations? The Supreme Sect is too small for you. With your talent, if you join the Star Sea congregations, you'll reach the Mahayana realm within 500 years. Enhao frowned slightly upon hearing this. Reaching the Mahayana realm at 500 years old was impressive. Enhao had always thought of his own talent as unparalleled, so he didn't see reaching the Mahayana realm in 500 years as a difficult feat. Even Xiantiani was only a few hundred years old. Qi Jiuxiao continued to boast about the greatness of the Star Sea congregations. When he mentioned Xiantiani, Enhao finally grew interested. He had a very good relationship with Xiantiani. However, in Qi Jiuxiao's words, Xiantiani was just a fellow disciple with decent talent. The reason Xiantiani was mentioned was that he also came from the Supreme Sect. "Forget it, I'm not going to the Star Sea congregations. I want to stay in the Supreme Sect," Enhao said, shaking his head. Qi Jiuxiao did not try to persuade him further. After all, he wasn't the sect hierarch of the Star Sea congregations, so making a few recruiting gestures was enough. "Why did you appear in this area?" Qi Jiuxiao asked. Enhao did not conceal anything and said, "I was originally training and heard the legend of the Immortal Path Supreme Treasure. I wanted to see it for myself." Qi Jiuxiao laughed and said, "How about joining forces?" "Well, rely on our abilities when the time comes." Enhao hesitantly asked, "Can my cultivation level really help you? I'm not very familiar with this continent. You can tell me about the events happening here, and I'll guide you in cultivating the Soaring Dragon 9 transformations." "How about that?" "All right, thank you, Senior," Enhao responded excitedly. The reason he did not leave was that he wanted to learn more skills from Qi Jiuxiao. Then, the two of them flew off in one direction. As autumn arrived, the scorching heat between heaven and earth gradually dissipated. The influence of the immortal path's supreme treasure continued to increase, attracting more and more cultivators to head north in search of opportunities. Guan was not affected and continued to live his plain yet interesting life. Occasionally, he would visit the outer gates city to chat with his friends about the various events stirred up by the immortal path's supreme treasure. One day, Yilan came to find Guan and also spoke about the immortal cultivation world. A faction of the Tianwei dynasty was flattened by overseas great cultivators, causing panic in the immortal cultivation world. Fortunately, our supreme sect is protected by Sword Venerable Fudao, otherwise, those great cultivators from overseas wouldn't dare to act recklessly, Yilan said with concern. The battle took place at night, and Guan had sensed it, but he didn't intervene. He had no relationship with Tianwei, so naturally, he was too lazy to take action. Such calamities were not uncommon in the immortal cultivation world. The overseas great cultivators who intervened were only at the Mahayana realm, but they were enough to crush a great sect with 1,000,000 disciples. Guan reminded her, then you should go out less and stay in the sect to cultivate. Yilan nodded and said, I'm now stationed at the law enforcement hall, doing idle tasks all day, and spending most of my time taking elixirs and absorbing energy. She was already 101 years old, and her maximum lifespan was only 130 years. Time was running out. Now, besides growing flowers and plants, Guan supervised her cultivation. Unlike Xiaochuan, Yilan was quite ambitious, so Guan was willing to help her. As they chatted, the topic shifted to Zhenqin. A few days ago, Zhenqin followed the elders and inheriting disciples to the demon clan's territory. It was said that the supreme sect had discovered a secret realm, a rare opportunity. That girl is bound to soar to great heights. She might even become a great cultivator of the supreme sect in the future. Imagine, she used to come to the inner sect to find me, acting like a little girl, reckless in her actions and careless in her words. Yilan began reminiscing about decades ago. Guan listened attentively, and when she finished, he teased, What, are you jealous of her? Why don't I cultivate the defying fate divine skill and pass my cultivation level to you before I die? Yilan gave him a sidelong glance and said, I wouldn't want that. What's the point of living without you? As they talked, the teacups on the table began to tremble, and ripples appeared in the tea. Yilan noticed this and frowned. Soon, even the ground began to shake, alarming all the cultivators in the city. Guan's gaze turned towards the depths of the continent to the desolate plains where a giant city was rising from the ground, occupying a 1,000-mile radius. Dust filled the sky, and the momentum was magnificent. That was. Guan could sense the vast power contained within the city. It was a Dharma treasure, the strongest he had ever seen. He immediately thought of a name. Immortal Path Supreme Treasure. The restrictions contained in this treasure were not only advanced but also very complex. Guan even sensed the aura of karmic rules. A city that occupied a 1,000-mile radius was colossal, with walls 100 zhang tall, the city filled with buildings, palaces, and towering spires. Despite its ancient and dilapidated appearance, the city had crossed the long river of time. With the arrival of this city, the great cultivators scattered across the continent all rushed towards it, including Qi Jiuxiao and Anhao. Even Li Ye and Zhang Buku joined the excitement. I'm going out to take a look. Yilan said this and then leaped into the air, stepping on her flying sword as she left the residence. Guan picked up his teacup and continued drinking tea, watching the excitement. He saw numerous cultivators from the Seven Stars spirit realm enter the city, and once they did, their figures disappeared, and their auras weakened. Guan, at the 9th level of the heaven and earth flying immortal realm, could barely catch their auras. Even so, it was difficult for cultivators of lower realms. No matter how many cultivators flew into the city, it remained silent. No one was seen, and no signs of life could be detected. The divine exotic city is open. All beings under the heavens can enter the city and find their immortal fate. A booming and ancient voice resounded throughout the heavens and earth, reaching every corner of the continent. Wandering immortal. Guan raised an eyebrow. The 6 stars cave only had one wandering immortal. Now, with the appearance of a second, had the death of the divine soul true lord been discovered? After a while, Yilan flew back. The disturbance seems to be coming from afar. This divine exotic city sounds extraordinary. I really want to see it, Yilan said wistfully as she sat opposite Guan. Guan shook his head and said, such a mortal fate is not something cultivators like us can reach. I know. Don't worry. I won't go looking for death. With my cultivation level, I might die before even seeing the divine exotic city, Yilan said with a smile, shaking her head. Guan didn't comfort her, it was indeed the truth. About an hour later, Guan left under Yilan's urging. In the days that followed, various legends about the divine exotic city circulated within the supreme sect. Shenzhen especially visited Guan, bringing many tales of the divine exotic city. I heard from a senior that the divine exotic city is an ancient immortal city, hidden and elusive. Each appearance can change the world. Our predecessors in the Dao Tian sect once excavated an ancient site and found an inscription mentioning the divine exotic city. It is a very ancient legend, Shenzhen said excitedly. Guan smiled and asked, what, do you want to join the excitement? He observed the divine exotic city every day, witnessing over 10,000 beings enter the city, but none had come out. Shenzhen nodded and said, yes, I'm planning to take a look. I won't enter the city, just watch the excitement from outside and draw the divine exotic city. Are you coming? There will be the vice sect leader and the supreme elders leading the way. Guan shook his head and said, I'm not going. If there's an incident, dying there would be too worthless. Nonsense. Are you cursing me? Shenzhen glared at him. No matter how much she persuaded, Guan wouldn't go, so she had no choice but to give up. After Shenzhen left, Guan went downstairs to start picking medicinal herbs. At the same time, his divine sense saw Li Ye and Zhang Buku entering the divine exotic city. Another person was on the way to the divine exotic city. It was Ji Xiaoyu. Chapter 217. Have you read Journey to the West? The noise caused by the appearance of divine exotic city in a short period of time matched the past catastrophe of demons, with various legends about divine exotic city emerging and widely circulating in the immortal cultivation world and among the common people. Divine exotic city houses immortals. Divine exotic city has the elixir of immortality. Divine exotic city has a passage to an exotic world. And so on. These countless peculiar tales made Guan feel astonished. In the blink of an eye, more than half a year had passed. This year's spring festival was quieter than in previous years because many disciples of the Supreme Sect went out to seek opportunities. Fortunately, the Third Medicine Valley and Mystic Valley were not affected. Divine Exotic City still stood there, continuously attracting cultivators from all over the world to seek treasures. Even the Nine-Finger Divine Lord, who was temporarily residing in the Supreme Sect, went there, taking Chu Jingfeng with him. Up to now, it was only heard who had gone to Divine Exotic City. No one had been heard to bring back any harvest from inside the city. In late spring, Guan rode the Blood Prison Great Saint to Tianya Valley. Li Xiandao was actually there as well. He had not returned to Tianya Valley for many years. Guan came to him and saluted, thanking him for the golden core he had given. It seems the Supreme Sect treats you well. Someone helped you form a core. I originally wanted to send someone to help you. Li Xiandao stroked his beard and smiled. In response, Guan could only express his gratitude without mentioning much about the Supreme Sect. After not seeing him for many years, Li Zuando's cultivation had reached the second level of the unification realm. He was only 314 years old, which was quite extraordinary. Guan suspected that he could reach the Mahayana realm before the age of 500. Considering only this continent, it was estimated that only Anhao and Xiantiani's talents could compare with his, and his maximum lifespan was not less, exceeding 6,000 years. Achieving nirvana in this life would be no problem. Li Xiandao called over Ji Ruolai, Luo Han, and Lv Xian, and they all sat down to chat. He mentioned Divine Exotic City and planned to take people to explore it. According to the information I received, Divine Exotic City is an immortal path supreme treasure, containing numerous minor heavens and earths with countless opportunities. Who among you wants to go? Li Xiandao asked. All three expressed their interest, and Li Xiandao then looked at Guan. Guan did not expect Li Xiandao to invite him and quickly shook his head and said, "I'll pass. Given my cultivation, would only be a burden to you, and I am not interested in the so-called immortal opportunities. I am self-aware enough to know that such immortal opportunities are not something I can covet." Li Xiandao laughed and said, "I am also at the core formation realm. Do you mean I shouldn't go either? Pretending to be at core formation realm with the unification realm, do you still have the nerve?" Guan helplessly said, "There is a difference even among those at the core formation realm. My strength is far inferior to yours." Li Xiandao raised his hand and pointed at him, did not insist, and just smiled. LV Xian wanted to say that both of them should stop pretending, but he held back because he could not afford to offend either of them. They continued talking about Divine Exotic City, and Ji Ruolai began sharing the intelligence he had gathered about it, while Guan silently listened. It was said that even the 7 stars spirit realm could not subdue Divine Exotic City. The immortal spirit of Divine Exotic City was hidden in the city and hard to find, so they had no choice but to release the city and let cultivators from all over the world come to find the immortal opportunities, thus forcing out the immortal spirit. Ji Ruolai received news from his family, saying that more overseas cultivators were on their way, which would inevitably affect the local immortal cultivation world. As the Holy Land, the 7 stars spirit realm doesn't consider us at all, causing trouble for the immortal cultivation world of the 3 dynasties. LV Xian couldn't help but curse. Luo Han nodded, he also disapproved of the 7 stars spirit realm. During the great catastrophe of demons, the 7 stars spirit realm did not intervene. After Sword Venerable Fudao exterminated the demon ancestor, they descended from the mountain to save the world and gain a good reputation. Now, how many years have passed since the great catastrophe of demons ended, and they provoked so many powerful overseas cultivators? Can such a force really be considered a holy land? Li Xiandao did not comment on the 7 stars spirit realm, and Ji Ruolai was even more silent. Guan also wondered what the 7 stars spirit realm intended to do. This was not just targeting the immortal cultivation world of the 3 dynasties. If all the overseas cultivators who came died, the impact would be massive. An hour later, Li Xiandao took Ji Ruolai, Luo Han, and LV Xian and set off. Meanwhile, Tianya Valley became lively. 3 monkey demons found Guan and chattered non-stop, giving off the vibe of being the kings in a mountain without a tiger. The Blood Prison Great Saint also became talkative, quarreling fiercely with Sun San. After Guan finished picking medicinal herbs, he rode the Blood Prison Great Saint away leisurely, and Tianya Valley returned to silence. At dusk, Divine Exotic City stood tall on the wasteland, magnificent and grand. Quite a few cultivators and demons gathered in front of the 4 city gates, and some cultivators and demons directly flew into the city. The air above the city walls rippled, and then the entrance disappeared without a trace. 2 figures flew from the horizon. It was Jiang Qiong and the ghost mother of Ephemera. As they looked from a distance, their eyes showed astonishment. Before coming, they had heard many legends about Divine Exotic City, but seeing it in person now, they felt the shock. Not only was it a visual impact, but an indescribable ancient aura also surged toward them. Divine Exotic City, it is said that obtaining it can summon divine soul demons to sweep across the heavens and earth. I never thought I would witness this legendary immortal path supreme treasure in my lifetime, the ghost mother of Ephemera marveled. Jiang Qiong frowned and said, "Why can't I see anyone coming out?" The ghost mother of Ephemera replied, "There are countless minor heavens and earths inside Divine Exotic City. Without several years, it's very difficult to come out." Jiang Qiong fell silent, her beautiful eyes fixed on Divine Exotic City. At that moment, a loud bell suddenly roared, making everyone's divine soul tremble. Jiang Qiong and the ghost mother of Ephemera instinctively turned their heads and saw a golden light flying from the horizon at high speed across the wasteland and entering divine exotic city, with no one seeing its true form. Jiang Qiong asked in a low voice, "What realm is that passerby?" The ghost mother of Ephemera remained silent, unable to answer. Meanwhile, Guan, staying in the third medicine valley, also stared at divine exotic city. Even the wandering immortals have come. Will heaven and earth flying immortals appear next? Guan stood by a wooden railing, looking at the horizon and silently thought. He originally wasn't interested in divine exotic city, but as more and more old acquaintances entered the city, he had to pay more attention. If something happened to divine exotic city, half of the people he cared about would die. Just thinking about it felt distressing. After watching for a while, he moved to check each garden area. Inside a broken and desolate city, An Hao and Qi Jiuxiao sat cross-legged in front of a collapsed wall, their faces pale and obviously injured. Roar, a thunderous roar echoed through the heavens and earth, causing the wall behind them to tremble slightly. An Hao opened his eyes and frowned, asking in a low voice, "Senior, is there really an immortal opportunity here? Should we try another place?" They were in a minor heaven and earth inside divine exotic city. After being here for several months, they had not found many treasures but often encountered demon beasts of the immortal path realm, facing life-threatening dangers. Even the powerful Qi Jiuxiao was injured. Qi Jiuxiao, with his eyes closed, said, "There are many powerful demon beasts here, indicating that this place must hide a supreme treasure. The desolation is only on the surface. If we can find the immortal spirit of divine exotic city, you and I will soar to the skies and become one of the dominions of heaven and earth." And Hao smiled bitterly, "Even if we find the immortal spirit, can we protect divine exotic city with our cultivation?" He admitted that Qi Jiuxiao was strong, but ever since they paired up, he often saw Qi Jiuxiao in difficult situations. Although Qi Jiuxiao claimed those opponents were in the loose immortal realm, it at least proved that within divine exotic city, he hadn't reached the top tier. How could he compete for the immortal spirit with such strength? The immortal spirit will choose its master. Once chosen, it can borrow the power of divine exotic city. Even you could possess the power of the immortal path realm. With the protection of divine exotic city's power, you and I will rise eventually, Qi Jiuxiao said nonchalantly. Upon hearing this, An Hao's eyes lit up. He was about to speak when suddenly, the city shook more violently. Qi Jiuxiao instantly appeared before him, grabbing him before vanishing from the spot. Rumble, streets collapsed, and dust rolled up, wanting to envelop the skies. Qi Jiuxiao and An Hao reappeared in the air. Looking closely, the world was submerged in rolling dust waves, and the dilapidated city below seemed in danger of being swallowed at any moment. "Qi Jiuxiao, long time no see." An eerie voice rang out. Upon hearing this, Qi Jiuxiao's brows furrowed, and he said in a deep voice, "Qin Xuanin, you indeed came." As the words fell, the dust waves ahead suddenly parted, and figures emerged from it. Leading the group was a man in blue robes, graceful and proud. "Do you dare to come alone to our 6 Stars Caves territory? Do you seek death?" Qin Xuanin stared at Qi Jiuxiao, a cold smile on his face. Qi Jiuxiao gripped An Hao's shoulder with his right hand, and in his left hand, he condensed the dragon-slaying spear. He pointed the spear at Qin Xuanin and sneered, "What? Do you think you can defeat me with a few helpers? Have you forgotten the cowardly look when you knelt before me 100 years ago?" Upon hearing this, Qin Zunyan's eyes turned cold. With a roar, the dust waves behind them dispersed, revealing a terrifying giant demon. It was an elephant demon with a head as huge as a mountain, black skin, blood-red eyes, and scars covering its trunk. Its 2 tusks were like mountain ridges dispersing the dust waves below. Meanwhile, in another minor heaven and earth within divine exotic city, under the clear sky, Zhang Buku and Leah walked through a vast monastery. Along the way, there were numerous Buddha statues. Some stood on demon beasts, looking heroic, while others sat on lotus seats, appearing kind and merciful. "Brotherly, have you read Journey to the West?" Zhang Buku suddenly asked. Leah, walking in front, hummed, "When do I have time to read leisure books?" His gaze swept forward, his brows furrowed. Since coming here, he had felt uneasy, as if someone hidden was watching them, making him very uncomfortable. Let me tell you, Journey to the West involves the Buddhism sect, and the Buddha is very powerful. Even the great sage equaling heaven, Sun Wukong, couldn't escape the five-finger mountain of the Buddha. Zhang Buku began introducing Journey to the West. He didn't actually want to talk about Journey to the West. His senses were sharper than Li Yas, and since stepping into this monastery, he felt danger. Strangely, they had walked around several times and couldn't find an exit. The two had a tacit understanding. Neither pointed out this fact and continued to stroll, their minds on high alert. Tap, 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 a stone suddenly fell from the courtyard wall, startling Zhang Buku, who turned to see the stone rolling on the path behind, with no figures of people or demons on the walls around. He released his divine sense, but also failed to detect anything unusual. He turned back, about to say something, and in the next moment, his eyes widened. The space in front of him was empty, Leah had vanished. Chapter 218, My master is definitely more powerful than yours. After Leah disappeared, Zhang Buku immediately panicked. He flew into the air, and from above, the vast monastery stretched out endlessly. The interconnected courtyard seemed endless, dizzying to behold. He scanned the area but could not find any trace of Leah. It wasn't just Leah. He couldn't see a single living creature. Thoroughly alarmed, he began to fly around, searching for Leah. "Brotherly." He called out loudly, but unfortunately, there was no response. The eeriness and horror intensified, making him feel that danger was approaching. No matter where he flew, he saw no human figures or traces. Gradually, he felt that the courtyards he passed by became increasingly repetitive, causing his consciousness to blur. He did not know how long had passed before he gradually descended into a courtyard. The world spun. His eyelids grew heavy. This feeling made Zhang Buku extremely uncomfortable. He half knelt on the ground, supporting himself with his hands, feeling on the verge of fainting. Damn it. I can't fall here. Zhang Buku struggled to maintain his last shred of rationality. He vaguely heard footsteps approaching from nearby. He turned his head with difficulty and saw a blurred, overlapping figure approaching. It seemed to be an old monk in a cassock. The old monk crouched down in front of him. Before Zhang Buku could see the monk's face, he saw the monk's hands, bony and gaunt, like a pair of ghostly claws, with very long nails. These hands alarmed Zhang Buku and instinctively filled him with fear. A faint chirping sound came from afar, making him feel dazed, as if he had heard this sound somewhere before. The old monk beside him stood up and turned to look, his body trembling, seemingly chastising something. Suddenly, the old monk's figure vanished into thin air, and he felt something land on his shoulder. His consciousness quickly cleared, and the world in his eyes returned to normal, no longer shaking. Once he was fully awake, he quickly stood up and turned his head to see a sparrow perched on his shoulder. "It's you!" Zhang Buku exclaimed with joy. It was this sparrow that had led him to the cave back then, where he obtained the demon core and learned the axe technique. He would never forget this sparrow. He instinctively wanted to grab the sparrow, but it suddenly flew away, landing on the courtyard wall, chirping non-stop. Zhang Buku couldn't understand it, but seeing the sparrow tilting its head, he immediately understood and followed the sparrow. The sparrow flapped its wings and flew away, and Zhang Buku hurriedly chased after it. After a while, the sparrow landed on a stone statue along the courtyard path. As Zhang Buku approached, he was astonished to find that the face of the statue was Li Ya's face. The statue's body was a Buddha statue, wearing a cassock with Li Ya's face on it, making Zhang Buku feel very uneasy. He began to call out to Li Ya, but unfortunately, received no response. Guan, in the form of a sparrow, looked at Zhang Buku and sighed inwardly. This kid's physique and cultivation were good, but his divine sense was lacking and needed more practice. Guan flapped his wings, continuously pecking at Li Ya's statue, guiding Zhang Buku. Zhang Buku took the hint and pushed the statue, but nothing happened. Guan landed on the statue's head, using his beak to peck at the statue's face, then looked up at Zhang Buku. I understand. Move aside. Zhang Buku stepped aside and said in a deep voice. Guan immediately flew away. Zhang Buku swung his fist and smashed the statue's head with a punch. Rumbling, the ground shook violently, spatial ripples appeared in the sky above the monastery, revealing various colors. Soon after, blood-red lights appeared, quickly replacing the clear sky. In less than 3 breaths' time, the monastery was under a night of blood, terrifying and horrifying. Zhang Buku stared ahead and found that all the stone statues had turned into white bones, hideous and terrifying. He leaped into the air. From above, the once boundless monastery now covered a mere 100-zhang area. In front of one temple, Liu was tied to an old tree, a ghostly claw covering his mouth and a ghostly hand pressing on his chest, preventing him from breaking free. These 2 ghostly hands' arms extended behind the tree, making one wonder how terrifying their owner was. Brotherly! Zhang Buku roared in anger, leaping with a stone axe in hand. Just as he flew into the courtyard, the temple door suddenly opened. I didn't expect you to see through my formation. Remarkable, young human. A hoarse voice came from the darkness behind the door. Then, an old monk in a cassock walked out. His figure was gaunt, his skin dark and covered in corpse spots, and his pupils had lost all color, pale to the extreme. Zhang Buku said nothing and swung his axe, cutting through the mountain. With one swing, the sky and earth trembled. The old monk vanished from his spot, and the temple was split in 2, with the connecting walls shattered, the cut extending outside the monastery. Guan, in the form of a sparrow, landed on a distant eaves, watching the battle unfold. Zhang Buku was no match for the old monk, but Guan could assist with his divine sense. The battle erupted in full scale. The monastery soon turned into a flat field, more and more evil ghosts emerging from the ground and rushing toward Zhang Buku. Zhang Buku was deeply surrounded, fighting more and more valiantly. Who? Show yourself, the old monk suddenly shouted in anger. Whenever he was about to kill Zhang Buku, a powerful divine sense would strike him, throwing his divine soul into chaos and making him lose focus. No one answered him, and Zhang Buku was killing with red eyes. Guan multitasked, using divine sense to help Zhang Buku while observing the minor heaven and earth within divine exotic city. The powerful restrictions of divine exotic city could not stop his limitless freedom step. As long as he locked onto the auras of Zhang Buku and Liya, he could step in instantly. Now he could enter and exit divine exotic city freely, utterly unhindered. Entering divine exotic city revealed its vastness. The city's minor heaven and earth numbered at least 1,000. Some minor heaven and earth were larger than the entire Taizong dynasty. Combined, the internal space of divine exotic city was likely wider than the entire continent. Guan saw Qi Jiuxiao and Anhao being pursued, the pursuers likely from the 7 stars spirit realm, led by a loose immortal. He also saw the 9-fingered divine lord single-handedly facing endless divine and ghostly armies in a heaven and was constantly using divine skills, domineering and unrivaled. Guan tried to kill an evil ghost nearby but gained no lifespan from it. He instantly abandoned the idea of venturing through divine exotic city. These evil ghosts seemed to be from a single power, a power even Guan could not fathom. The being who created divine exotic city must have a realm far beyond the heaven and earth flying immortal. Time flew by quickly. An hour later, Zhang Buku finally managed to kill the old monk, though it was Gu An's mana that had initially eliminated him, with Zhang Buku's axe energy following closely. Killing the old monk did not grant Guan any lifespan either. Zhang Buku landed, gasping heavily. He reached the old tree and cut off the ghostly hands, causing Liya to fall, whom he caught. He subconsciously looked back but saw no trace of the sparrow. He couldn't care much about that and focused on attending to Liya. Brotherly. Brotherly. Zhang Buku whispered, using his spiritual power to heal Li Ya's wounds. At the same time, Guan had already returned to Mystic Valley. To Zhang Buku and Liya, Divine Exotic City was incredibly far from the Supreme Sect, but to Guan, it was just a step away. He approached the pill furnace in his room, preparing for alchemy. Not only Liya and Zhang Buku encountered troubles today, but several other old friends did as well, so Guan decided to stay in Mystic Valley and wait. Divine Exotic City Immortal Spirit, Guan seemed to catch something just now. He stood before the pill furnace, pondering while beginning to place herbs into the furnace. In the dark hall passage, Hao and Qi Jiuxiao were walking quickly. Qi Jiuxiao suddenly stopped, leaning against the wall, and whispered, "We can stop now." Hao looked around and asked, "Where is this place?" They had just flown out of a minor heaven and earth and ended up in this hall passage. After walking for a long time, passing numerous intersections, they had lost their way. They couldn't forcibly break through the walls or even penetrate them with their divine sense, making Hao very nervous. Qi Jiuxiao sat down, placing a small cauldron in front of him, then inserted 2 incense sticks. Watching him light the incense, Hao frowned and asked, "What are you doing?" Black blood seeped from Qi Jiuxiao's mouth. He forced a smile and said, "Those scum from 7 Stars Spirit Realm dared to hire 2 loose immortals to deal with me. I indeed couldn't defeat them, but since Qin Xuanin can call for help, so can I." Hao widened his eyes and quickly asked, "Aren't you from overseas? Who can you call?" "Heh, my master is a being surpassing loose immortals. Once I light this incense, he will sense it and come to rescue us quickly," Qi Jiuxiao grinned. "Surpassing loose immortals." Hao was stunned. He sat down and said, "Since you're calling your master, I'll call mine as well." He began calling his master in his mind. Previously, he had managed to call his master through his thoughts. But he was unsure. Last time, he wanted his master to save Xiantiani, and his master didn't come right away, though he did act later. He wasn't sure under what circumstances his master would act. Your master? Forget it. What formidable cultivator could the Supreme Sect have? Qi Jiuxiao couldn't help but laugh. Hao said, "My master is definitely stronger than yours." "Kid, don't disrespect my master." Qi Jiuxiao glared at him. Hao was about to say that Qi Jiuxiao had also disrespected his master. Suddenly, the hall passage began to tremble, and a powerful killing intent attacked from the darkness. Damn it! They caught up so fast. Qi Jiuxiao immediately stood up, grabbed the small cauldron with the incense, and pulled Hao along, flying quickly. Though strong at the 9th layer of Nirvana realm, he couldn't break through the walls or ceiling, so he could only fly close to the ground. "Qi Jiuxiao, you can't escape." Qin Zunyan's voice came from behind, filled with frenzied excitement. At the same time, outside Divine Exotic City, LV Badian and a group of Supreme Sect cultivators watched the city gate, discussing their plans after entering the city. Suddenly, a terrifying aura came from afar, startling everyone outside the city to turn and look. They could only see a streak of light breaking through the sky, disappearing into Divine Exotic City in the blink of an eye, swift as lightning, and couldn't see what was within the light. Chapter 219 Master. Qi Jiuxiao took Hao and fled quickly, passing dozens of intersections. They suddenly flew into a vast palace whose length and width were difficult to estimate. The palace was dimly lit, with rows of stone pillars, most of which had extinguished oil lamps hanging on them. As soon as Hao entered the palace, he felt a cold wind blowing towards him, making him shiver uncontrollably. Before he could think more, a terrible killing intent came from behind. A dark red long scarf flew out from the darkness, swiftly passing by the two and circling in front, trying to entangle them. Qi Jiuxiao took out the dragon-slaying spear and threw it forward. A dragon's roar exploded, and a golden dragon condensed, illuminating the whole palace with golden light. The golden dragon formed by the dragon-slaying spear fiercely collided with the dark red scarf, stirring up strong winds that ravaged the palace space. And Hao only felt himself about to be swept away. Fortunately, Qi Jiuxiao was holding him, but even so, he was still very uncomfortable. Qi Jiuxiao leaped up, his toes stepping on the dragon-slaying spear. He flipped into the air, jumping over the dark red scarf, and then turned to look below. The dark red scarf was like a red river plunging into the darkness, with no end in sight. Figures attacked from all directions, qiquickly surrounding them. Qin Xuanin flew from the front, landing less than 30 feet from the two, and said with a sneer, "Qi Jiuxiao, where do you think you're going?" Qi Jiuxiao put down an Hao and coldly said, "Want to kill me? Fine, let this kid go first." And Hao was urgent, just about to speak but was stopped by Qi Jiuxiao raising his hand. Qin Xuanin laughed dismissively, "Do you think you're in any position to negotiate with me right now?" As he finished speaking, a figure appeared beside him. It was an old man in white, with a cold face, holding a jade lamp. Qi Jiuxiao slightly turned his head, glancing back. Another loose immortal had already appeared behind him. "Master," and Hao whispered through clenched teeth. Qi Jiuxiao heard his words and smiled. "And Hao, it seems your master cannot hear your call. But my master is coming soon," Qi Jiuxiao said softly with a smile. With these words, the faces of the 7 stars spirit realm cultivators slightly changed. The old man in white beside Qi Jiuxiao instinctively turned around to look. "You bully my disciple, does Divine Soul True Lord agree?" A cold voice echoed through the palace, the killing intent in the tone making everyone feel as if they were in an ice cellar. Qi Jiuxiao's face once again showed an unruly and wild smile, looking at Qin Xuanin as if he were prey. The autumn wind blew, lifting the fallen leaves off the ground and gently putting them down again. Guan was sweeping the ground, and the blood prison great saint beside him curiously asked, "Master, there are so many disciples in the valley, why do you sweep the ground yourself?" Not only Guan but other disciples were also sweeping the ground in the third Medicine Valley. However, compared to the vast Medicine Valley, the hundreds of people seemed sparse. It's sometimes good to sweep the ground. Feeling the earth with your hands and feet might lead to some insights. Guan casually replied. He sounded very perfunctory, but his words fell on the ears of the blood prison great saint and seemed very reasonable. The blood prison great saint began to walk back and forth, feeling the earth and nature. Guan looked toward the direction of Divine Exotic City, where 4 wandering immortals had gathered, 2 from the 7 stars spirit realm, one was Qi Jiuxiao's master, and another was Nine-Finger Divine Lord. Nine-Finger Divine Lord was leading Chu Jingfeng to search for immortal spirit, while the other 3 wandering immortals were engaged in chaotic battles. Qi Jiuxiao's master had killed 2 loose immortals and more than a dozen 7 stars spirit realm disciples, attracting 2 wandering immortals. The situation was not good, as Qi Jiuxiao's master had already fallen into a disadvantage. Guan was not in a hurry to take action, first letting Qi Jiuxiao's master fight for a while longer. He had to sweep this area clean. After a while, Guan looked towards the west. Another wandering immortal had arrived. "It's really lively," Guan thought to himself, feeling a bit worried. The increasing presence of immortal path beings on this continent could easily bring catastrophe to the immortal cultivation world of the 3 dynasties. He just hoped this matter would end soon. In a minor heaven and earth within Divine Exotic City, yellow sand covered the sky, and the wind raged wildly. On the desert, and Hao stood in front of Qi Jiuxiao, with a faint golden light around them, blocking the wind and sand. Qi Jiuxiao was sitting and healing his wounds, looking ahead. Booming sounds kept coming, with heat waves, flying leaves, and gold flames entangled and surging. In the distance, mana rainbows flashed brilliantly, shaking the heavens and the earth. The battle of wandering immortals, how terrifying! And Hao could not see the figures of the 3 wandering immortals. Even with the protection of the formation, he felt his body might turn to dust at any moment, which was an unbearably uncomfortable feeling. Qi Jiuxiao could barely see the wandering immortals battle, and because of that, his face looked even gloomier. His most respected master had already fallen into disadvantage. He realized that doom was inevitable. This time, he had also implicated Enhao and his master, which made his fists clench tightly. Damn it, Qi Jiuxiao realized for the first time the power of 7 Stars Spirit Realm. Before, he had mainly been active within the territory governed by Star Sea congregations. Even when encountering 7 Stars Spirit Realm cultivators, he rarely suffered losses. Now, coming to the territory of 7 Stars Spirit Realm, he recognized that those people feared not him, but the Star Sea congregations. And Hao turned back and asked nervously, "Senior, what is the situation now?" Qi Jiuxiao was silent, not answering, just staring ahead. Seeing his face darken to the point of dripping water, and Hao knew the situation was bad, making him even more anxious. "Qi Bei, today your disciple must die. If you insist on living and dying with him, then prepare to vanish." A majestic voice rang out, followed by the sound of a zither, causing Enhao inside the formation to feel dizzy, with everything in his field of vision shaking. Qi Jiuxiao took a deep breath, then stood up. "Senior, what are you going to do?" Enhao frowned and asked. Qi Jiuxiao did not answer but shouted loudly, "I take full responsibility for my actions. This matter started because of me. Let my master go. I am willing to die to atone." "Humph, it's not up to you to talk here." An old voice echoed, filled with displeasure. "Master, shut up." With a loud and violent shout, the desert rolled, and black lightning bolts extended from the horizon, as if tearing the sky apart. The battle became more intense. The formation protecting Enhao and the others was also shaking violently, causing Enhao to sway. He looked nervously ahead and suddenly saw a figure walking through the wind and sand. "Immortal swallowing scorpion. You are truly vicious. Does 7 Stars Spirit Realm really belong to the righteous path?" An old voice rang out again, filled with anger. "Humph, what is righteous, and what is demonic? Can you Star Sea congregations really distinguish?" Another voice replied, filled with disdain. Qi Jiuxiao panicked and quickly shouted, "Let my master go. I am willing to die." His gaze instinctively turned to the figure walking through the sandstorm ahead. That figure stepped out of the sandstorm, revealing its true form, a man wearing purple robes, with white hair, a youthful face, and eyes as cold as serpents. He looked at Qi Jiuxiao and coldly said, "Whether you are willing or not, you must die, and your master must also die now." Qi Jiuxiao was furious, wishing he could rush out and fight the man in purple robes for 300 rounds. But he remained rational, knowing he was no match for his opponent. If he went out, he probably wouldn't withstand even one move, and would only distract his master. Boom! The rolling yellow sand behind the man in purple robes was suddenly scattered. An old man with torn robes and a face covered in blood flew, stepping on a golden ring. Before he could get close to the man in purple robes, a terrifying giant scorpion pincer swept in from the side, directly catching him and pulling him back, disappearing into the sandstorm. "Master!" Qi Jiuxiao shouted hoarsely. The man in purple robes raised his right hand, igniting a strange white flame in his palm. He looked at Qi Jiuxiao and Enhao with a mocking smile. He approached the formation step by step, the wind and sand behind him swirling madly, with waves of qi created by mana soaring like dragons, creating a spectacular scene. "Just wait for death. Soon, your master will come down to join you," the man in purple robes said coldly. As he finished speaking, he was already less than 10 steps away from the formation. He deliberately approached slowly, tormenting Qi Jiuxiao and Enhao's minds while trying to distract Qi Bei. Enhao looked at him and couldn't help but recall the scene when Xian Tianyi was held back by mysterious cultivators. Just like last time, he was still utterly useless, weak enough to hate himself. He gritted his teeth, closed his eyes, and couldn't help shouting out loudly, "Master!" He screamed with all his might, his voice echoing inside the minor heaven and earth. "Master? What? You also have a master? Can your master compare to Mahayana, the man in purple robes laughed with more disdain. Before he finished his sentence, a hand suddenly pressed on his shoulder, forcibly stopping him. Chi Jiuxio's pupils dilated, staring in shock at the figure behind the man in purple robes. The man in purple robes instinctively tried to use divine skills to dodge. He was horrified to find that the mana in his body was solidified and immovable. He tried to use his own chi to break free, but the hand on his shoulder was as heavy as the heaviest mountain in the world, pressing down on him. The more he struggled, the greater the pressure felt. Do you think I have the cultivation level of the Mahayana realm? A cold voice came from behind the man in purple robes. And Hao heard it too and opened his eyes to see. When he saw the scene outside the formation, he was instantly overjoyed. Master! You finally came. And Hao looked at Guan with surging emotions, his eyes quickly turning red. Guan, who had displayed the 9 extremes yin-yang body, ignored Hao. He was standing sideways, his left hand pressing on the shoulder of the man in purple robes with a casual posture, yet the man in purple robes couldn't move. Who are you? Another voice rang out, filled with fear. As he finished speaking, a figure suddenly appeared behind Guan. It was a man in red robes, dressed extravagantly, exuding powerful energy, holding a short sword, and stabbing towards Guan's lower back. Guan, holding the shoulder of the man in purple robes, vanished into thin air, causing the man in red robes to miss. Before the man in red robes could turn around, he felt an unimaginable force hitting his back. His body uncontrollably fell to his knees on the sand, and then a foot stepped on his back, pushing his spine down. Guan, with his left hand pressing on the shoulder of the man in purple robes and his right foot stomping on the back of the man in red robes, sued that you're tuning in to the Dreamy Love Stories YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.